Chapter 1387. Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, Epona. In the royal family's room, Sylvia sat in front of her desk. She took out the scroll she had just received from the postman and carefully tore it open. Night King Eoward? Lormon. As soon as this name was mentioned, as long as it was a citizen of the Knight's Kingdom of Loria, there would be no one who would not be in awe. However, only those who were truly familiar with Orvard would know that this Night King in name was actually quite disappointing when they actually met him. It's not that Eoward is incompetent as the Night King. He's not an incapable ruler either. On the contrary, he's very amiable and considerate towards the knighthood. However, compared to his wife, dead son and 4 daughters, Eoward is too mediocre. Not only is his appearance mediocre, there's nothing special about his personality. As the Night King, he doesn't have the demeanor of a royal family. He doesn't have the temperament and cultivation that he should have. His ability to handle political affairs is much weaker than others. His strength isn't as strong as Veronica's. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he's just an ordinary person. Moreover, he's not a dragon cultivator like Sylvia. He's simply mediocre. He doesn't look like a king at all. Instead, he looks more like an amiable old man. Thus, as the current Night King. Although Eoward has real power, he knows that he's not a king. He's not an outstanding king. Thus, Eoward simply handed over most of the political affairs to his outstanding subordinates. He also gave almost all of the real power of the Night Royal family to Veronica. He himself is living a leisurely life and can enjoy it very much. Because of this, Sylvia, who knows what kind of person her birth father is, treated Eoward's letter so seriously. With Eoward's lazy personality, he actually gave up on his enjoyment and spent so much effort to write a letter to Sylvia. Thinking about it, it must be something urgent or important that Sylvia has to be careful. After reading Alvard's letter in detail, Sylvia was even more certain of her suspicions. This was indeed a very important matter. Sylvia threw the letter on the table and leaned back in her chair as if she lost all her strength. Her icy blue eyes looked at the ceiling in a daze. She muttered to herself. Participate in the Continental Conference? That's right. Night King Orwald's letter clearly told Sylvia that Sylvia was to participate in the Continental Conference. The Continental Conference is a conference held every 5 years. It gathers the leaders of all the top factions in Aluxtran. During the Continental Conference, Lorimon Knighthood, Shepron Kingdom, Sepharo's Empire, Rovlock Merchant City, and Espadar Hall will unite. These 5 forces that each held a place in the Aruxtran continent would send their own representatives to gather together for an important summit that would determine the future of the Aruxtran continent. The Continental Congress was a tradition of the Aluxtran continent. Back then. Of the Lorimon Knighthood of Lorimon Knighthood Empire. The conference Amon continent Amon of the conference. Amon Amamon the of Amon Amon of knighthood of Amon the continent had. Was Amon Amamon. One could only imagine how important the continent's congress was to the various peak powers of Aluxtran. Now the Continental Conference that is held every 5 years is finally going to be held again. Thus, Night King Eoward ordered Sylvia to return to the capital of Lorimon Knighthood, Fantion City, and attend the Continental Conference. Of course, that wasn't the most important thing. The most important thing is that every Continental Conference is hosted by Rosa Maria Church. The core of the Church of Mary, the Espada Basilica, was in charge of hosting the event. Furthermore, the location of the event was decided by the current Pope of the Espada Basilica through divination. The current Pope of Espadar Hall has already divined the location of this year's Continental Conference and announced it to the entire Aluxtran continent. It is the capital of Lorimon Knighthood, Fantion City. Fantion City, which is located in the center of Fantion City's capital, must be in a state of chaos. They must be preparing for the Continental Conference, right? In other words, it won't be long before the representatives of the top factions of Aluxtran arrive at the capital of Lorimon Knighthood. They might even gather in the capital of Lorimon Knighthood. This matter could not be said to be small. However, Sylvia was only annoyed. She wasn't in a hurry. Originally, Sylvia had been troubled by a certain matter during this period of time. Now, before the matter had been resolved, her home had become the venue for the Continental Conference, and even her student had to attend the conference. How could Sylvia not be annoyed? Moreover, Eoward didn't only ask her to go to Fantion City. There are others apart from her as well. Sigh. With a sigh, Sylvia walked to her bed in a mess and fell down. Her skirt flew up and the lower half of her fatu suit was completely exposed to the air. "Your Highness, you're being too rude." Corset, who had prepared black tea for Sylvia, happened to walk in and saw this scene. "You don't look like a princess at all. Don't mind me," Sylvia said in a muffled voice. "There's no one else here anyway. Let me relax for a bit." Corset shook her head with a smile but didn't say anything else. Putting the black tea in his hand on the table, Corset glanced at the letter written by Alvard on the table and asked, "What did the Night King say in the letter?" Sylvia's voice became even more muffled. "He ordered me to return to Fantian City and attend the Continental Conference." "Really?" Corset's eyes lit up. "Congratulations, Your Highness. The Continental Conference is a conference that only the representatives of the top factions in Aluxtron can attend. It will decide the future of the continent. Such an important meeting also meant that those who could attend would definitely become the most important figures in their respective factions in the future." The fact that Sylvia was present proved that the royal family of knights really intended to push her up the ranks. How can Corset not be happy for Sylvia? However, Sylvia was still in a bad mood. "But you know, with my abilities, attending a conference like this is too much of a burden." "Your Highness, how can you think that way?" Corset raised an eyebrow. "Did you forget? Lord Loon hates it when you give up before you do anything. If he finds out, he will be very disappointed." I know." Sylvia couldn't help but care. Although she still looked unhappy, she sat up from the bed and tidied up her messy skirt. Seeing this, Cosette secretly heaved a sigh of relief. During this period of time, Sylvia had always looked as if she had something on her mind which really worried Cosette. But now Cosette was a little relieved. At the very least, no matter how depressed Sylvia is, she still cares about Wu Yan, right? "Then forgive my rudeness," Corset politely informed Sylvia and immediately picked up the letter from the Night King on the table and began to read it. It didn't take long for Corset to raise her eyebrows and laugh out loud. "Bring Loon with you when you return home?" "Randall? Is this a meeting with the parents?" "Ha!" Sylvia was stunned for a moment before her pretty face turned red with a bang. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Isn't that right?" Of course not." Sylvia didn't hide her wavering. "Father's letter also said to bring Yashur and Yak. How could he mean that?" "Well, this only means that the Night King doesn't mean that." Corset gloated. "But Your Highness, don't you want to bring Lord Loon to see your father?" "You shut up." Sylvia's face flushed red as she grabbed a pillow and threw it at Corset with all her might. Corset hurriedly caught the pillow thrown by Sylvia, and the smile on her face grew wider. The princess has finally returned to her normal self. Chapter 1388. Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, Student Council Office. That's it for the details. In a meeting with all the members of the Student Council, Wu Yan rubbed his eyebrows. He explained the report of the reconstruction of the academy as well as its progress and arrangements before exhaling deeply. He sat down and gave his closing remarks. "So, if there are no accidents, the reconstruction work of the academy should be almost done in about 10 days. Although it can't be said to be completely restored to its previous functions, it shouldn't be a problem if it's just for classes. We should also arrange for the start of the school term." "That's great." Yashur was the first to rejoice. "It's been so long since we've had classes and we've been staying in a hotel. I'm not used to it." "Well done, Roland." Lebecca praised him. "It's all thanks to you that the academy's reconstruction is going so smoothly. You've contributed greatly this time. It would have been hard for me to do it alone." Wu Yan rolled his eyes. Without Luca, Sylvia, and Yashur's help, let alone being successful, even the progress might have been delayed quite a bit. "I don't dare to take all the credit, especially Luca. He helped me a lot." "It's nothing. It's my duty to help Master Roland." Luca was a little shy as she lowered her head regretfully. "What a pity. I can't stay with Master Roland anymore." "Ma." Luca's voice is a bit soft, but Wu Yan, who is sitting beside her, heard it. He quickly covered it up. "You'll have a chance in the future." Luca's expression eased up a bit. It seems like the people around them didn't hear what Luca said. Wu Yan sighed in relief. One must know that the matter of him eating, living, and sleeping together with Luca was only known to Yashu at present. The other girls still didn't know. If the rest of the girls found out about this, they would not be able to do anything. Wu Yan didn't even need to think to know how he would be treated. So it's best to keep it a secret for now. It's for my own good. Regardless, without your help things wouldn't have gone so smoothly. Lebecca smiled at Wu Yan. At the same time he said apologetically. As the president of the student council, I didn't help much in the rebuilding of the academy. I'm really ashamed. Guild leader, please don't say that. Yashur comforted. The guild leader also has his own matters to attend to. We understand. Yak was the one who had nothing to do. She had nothing to do. Bang. Before he could finish speaking, a muffled sound reverberated clearly from under the table. At the same time, Yashur's face turned completely green as he howled in grief. Umph. Aiku snorted coldly. She silently retracted her foot that was stepping on Yashur's foot and drank her tea. That nonchalant look of hers as if nothing had happened really made one's heart tremble. Rebecca, how are things on your side? Wu Yan shook his head and looked at Lebecca. When the corpse dragon army attacked the academy, did the royal family of knights not do anything? I'm also troubled by this. Lebecca frowned and rubbed her chin. I've sorted out the details many times and had a lot of discussions with the city council. The report should have been sent to Fantion City, but the royal family of knights' response left me scratching my head. Oh? Wu Yan looked at Lebecca with everyone's gaze. How should I put this? They said. Lebecca met Wu Yan's gaze. How about we wait for Roland? We can talk face to face after Randall arrives at Fantion City. Wait for me to arrive at Fantion City? Wu Yan was stunned. Lord Roland. Luca and the others were also confused. Are you going to Fantion City? How is that possible? Wu Yan was confused. I've never thought about going to Fantion City. Then what's going on? Lebecca tilted her head in confusion. Why would they give such an answer? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. None of them could make sense of what was going on. It was also at this moment that Sylvia raised her hand submissively and spoke in a mosquito-like voice. Shui. I can explain. Everyone was stunned for a moment. They looked at Sylvia suspiciously, causing Sylvia's face to stiffen. You can explain? Wu Yan asked in confusion. Sylvia, did you receive any news? That. Sylvia's ears turned red and her gaze drifted around, causing everyone to be surprised. Though they didn't ask, they all saw Sylvia's recent state of mind. They knew Sylvia had something on her mind and wasn't in a good mood. It wasn't convenient for them to ask, and Sylvia didn't say anything even if they asked. They could only wait and see. Now that Sylvia was like this, could it be that her problem had been solved? Thinking of this, everyone also released a kind smile. Take your time. Wu Yan handed Sylvia a cup of black tea. Have some tea first, thank you. Sylvia blushed and took the black tea. She took a sip and looked around at everyone. When she saw the kind smiles on everyone's faces, Sylvia mustered up her courage. Actually, my father sent a letter saying he wants to meet Rune. As soon as he finished speaking, the entire place fell silent. Then, loud gasps of surprise echoed throughout the student council office. Meet me. Wu Yan flinched at her words. Is that what he means? Yashur asked hesitantly. Meet the parents? Meet the parents. Wu Yan was even more shocked. Meet the parents. Luca gasped. She grabbed Wu Yan's arm out of reflex. No. I can't. I can't? Sylvia's face was starting to redden, but when she heard Luca's words, her body tensed up. Why not? Because. Luca stuttered. After a while, she spoke with tears in her eyes. Even if you want to meet the parents, Lord Rune has to come with me to the village to meet my godfather first. What kind of twisted logic is this? Sylvia's aura was slowly becoming more and more imposing. You want to ignore the Night King's summons and go somewhere else? How unbelievable. In the face of Sylvia's imposing manner, Luca met her head-on, out of the ordinary. Status doesn't mean everything when it comes to love. What did you say? Sylvia's face reddened. I don't want to use my status to date anyone. Then it's first come, first served. Luca tightened her grip on Wu Yan's arm. Lord Rune, you have to come with me to Yekablad to meet my godfather. You. Sylvia's fingers trembled in anger. What's going on? Wu Yan couldn't bear to watch and turned to Rebecca. President, are you going to leave them in the lurch? Well, personally speaking, I can understand their actions. Rebecca's words caused the entire place to fall into silence once more. After all, the people from my family also said that they wanted to see you and asked me to bring you back. Even Rebecca. Luca looked at Rebecca in disbelief. No way. Sylvia was also confused. What's going on? Wu Yan couldn't help but ask. I've never heard of it. That's because I don't think there's a need. Rebecca glanced at Wu Yan with a half-smile. The people of the Randall family want to see you because you, who is my guard and given the surname Randall by me, have defeated the strongest Captain Ursula. This made the people of the family ecstatic. Each of them expressed that they want to see you, an outsider who has the surname of the family. I think they want to try their best to rope you in, so I didn't think about bringing you back. I see. Wu Yan was relieved. Sylvia and Luca also let out a sigh of relief. However, reality proved that it was still too early for them to be relieved. However, putting aside my family, I actually want to bring you back home to meet my family. Rebecca's words shocked everyone. No matter what, you're the only person of the opposite sex who has moved my heart. For a moment, Sylvia and Luca emitted a deadly aura of resentment. Wu Yan laughed dryly. Chapter 1389. The next day, early morning. Today, the reconstruction of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was almost complete. Other than some of the less important and less practical buildings, basically everything that should have been there had been restored. On the main street of the academy, uniformed students were chatting and laughing while taking a stroll in the rebuilt academy. This scene was very reassuring. Currently, the reconstruction of the academy was still in progress and the classes had not yet resumed. However, the students had already received news that in about 10 days at the latest, the Ansari Dragon Academy would once again welcome classes and the students would resume their own classes. Therefore, even though the students were looking forward to the arrival of classes, there were also many who wanted to play as much as possible before classes started. Therefore, students could be seen everywhere in the academy enjoying the last period of their holiday. In the open space in front of Epona's dormitory, Wu Yan, Yashur and Yak were standing there. Moreover, they weren't wearing their usual uniforms. At this moment, Wu Yan was wearing the academy's dragon riding uniform. The hem of his coat was fluttering in the wind. This caused the entire space to reverberate with the fluttering of his coat. On the other hand, Yashur was wearing a nice-looking uniform. The uniform was embroidered with the insignia of the Night Palace and had a bow tie. It looked very stylish. However, those who were in the know knew that the uniform was stylish, but it was actually a servant's uniform in the palace style. Not only was Yashur wearing a palace-style servant's uniform, even Yak, who was standing next to him, was wearing a palace-style servant's uniform. Wearing such clothes, Wu Yan, Yashur and Yak stood together. It was as if some royal family was about to bring their two servants out for an inspection. This caused Yashur to be embarrassed and Yak's expression to be a bit unsightly. Not long after, Yak angrily complained in a loud voice. They actually made a noble dragon wear this kind of servant's uniform. Is this how the Night Kingdom treats dragons who are connected to their lives? Just bear with it for a while. Yashur finally heard Yak's complaint and showed an expected expression. He made a pre-prepared appeasement. Aren't I also wearing servant's uniform? Unfortunately, Yashur's consolation only brought about the opposite effect. You're a servant to begin with. Yak retorted matter-of-factly. How can a mere watchdog compare to the honorable dragon clan? Ashu immediately choked. Alright Yak, stop complaining. At the side Yak said. Yan shrugged. This is also for Sylvia, isn't it? Needless to say, the fact that Yashio and Yak had dressed up like this was naturally not their own will. In fact, this was Cosette's proposal. Although Fenshin City wasn't too far away from Ansari City, it wasn't a place where one could go whenever they wanted to. If he used the usual method of moving, he might not be able to reach it even after an entire day. In order not to waste time, the only way to travel to Fantion City was to ride on a dragon. However, this was where the problem came from. Yashur's fall was Yak. Although she was a dragon with Yak's form, not to mention whether she was willing to let Yashur ride on her head from a physical point of view, even if she was willing, by the time Yak ran to Fenshin City on foot, the Continental Conference would already be over. Yak was also in human form, so she couldn't move as fast as a dragon. Naturally, she was reduced to a spectator. In this way, Yashur and Yak could only choose to ride on Lancelot and head to Fantion City like Sylvia. However, for the princess of a country to ride together with a male student who was even her classmate at that, it wasn't strange for there to be some kind of ridiculous rumors, right? After all, the thing that attracted the curiosity of the reporters the most was the love affairs of the royal family. It was commonly known as gossip and privacy. Even if Sylvia and Yashur were innocent, the reporters could still write something black out of something white. In order to prevent rumors from spreading on the way to Fantion City with Sylvia, Corset suggested that Yashur and Yak dress up as servants. It was a very common thing for the royal family to bring their servants out to travel. This way they could avoid the gossip of others. Yak knew this very well, so she didn't yell directly. However, she still complained more or less. "I'm also a dragon princess. Why do I have to be treated like this?" Yak's expression was unbearably sour. She pointed at Wu Yen, who didn't seem to care at all. "Also, even I, a girl, dress up like this. You also don't ride your own dragon. Why don't you use it? You should be like Yashur. If you ride with Sylvia, there will be rumors, right?" "Don't ask me that question." Wu Yen rolled his eyes. "I don't really care what I dress up like. It's fine as long as I can meet people." Corset said, "I don't need it." "Why?" Yak couldn't get over it. "Why don't you use it?" "Because even if there are rumors between Lord Roan and Her Highness, it won't be a big deal." Sylvia and Corset appeared in front of Epona Lodge's door and walked over. Lord Roan defeated Commander Usula. That's enough for the reporters to not write anything unsightly. Corset winked at Yak with a smile. "Moreover, if there really is a rumor, my princess will probably be very happy. Don't talk nonsense over there." Sylvia glared at Corset. Wu Yen and the others could clearly see that her white ears had turned slightly red. Today, Sylvia also had her bright blonde hair coiled up. She was wearing a dragon riding robe embroidered with the insignia of the royal family of knights. Her neck and ears were completely exposed under the sunlight, and it wasn't strange for everyone to see that her ears were red. Well, Your Highness, don't be shy." Corset seemed to be in high spirits. She didn't stop after Sylvia's reprimand. Instead, she attacked again. "Your Highness, this is a meeting between the parents. Don't you dare deny that you're not excited at all?" "I am ready to go." Sylvia hurriedly summoned Lancelot. A wide-range magic formation rippled beneath her feet. "Heed my summons and come here. Lancelot." Roar. A loud and clear roar echoed from the magic array, gradually becoming louder and louder. Lancelot's silver body also appeared in the magic array, majestically making his appearance. Sylvia flipped over and leaped onto Lancelot's back. "You guys get on as well. Then let's go." Wu Yen shook his head. He didn't say anything else. He tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and leaped up lightly. He landed on Lancelot's back. Corset also took the laced apron of her maid uniform and flew up like a flower. Yashur and Yak stood in place. They stared at Wu Yen and Corset's suave way of mounting their horses. After a long time, Yak gave an order. "You hurry up and fly up as well. Don't force me. You know I can't do it, right?" "You're so useless. I'm just an ordinary person. Don't compare me. Then I'll give you the holy knight armor. Don't lose the scene. Give me a cool entrance." "You're willing to give me the holy knight armor, just for a cool entrance? Isn't your holy knight armor too cheap?" "What do you mean by present? It's just a replica. It's not a present." "Then what should I do?" After saying that, Yashio and Yak once again stared at each other with their small eyes. "Anything is fine." On Lancelot's back, Wu Yan's mouth twitched. He couldn't help but yell. "Anyway, get on first. Don't waste my time." Yashur and Yak looked at each other and fell silent. In the end, they obediently went under Lancelot's body and climbed up the dragon's back along with Lancelot's reins. "You're ready, right?" Sylvia smiled bitterly and pulled on the reins in her hand. "Then let's go." Roar. Lancelot faced the sky and let out a long howl. Like an arrow, he soared into the sky and flew towards the distant horizon. Chapter 1390. The scorching sun hung high in the sky, sprinkling down dazzling rays of sunlight that illuminated the entire land and the bustling city below. Fantion City, the capital of the Loriman knighthood, where the royal family of knights and the royal palace were located. Compared to Ansari City, regardless of importance in terms of land area and prosperity, Fantian City was several levels ahead of Ansari City. The tall city walls drew a path in a very regular pattern, surrounding the entire city of Fantian. There were streets, urban areas, and rivers inside. It was just like a small country. There were a lot of people in Fantian City. Although it wasn't a sea of people, it could still be a sea of people if they gathered together. The buildings were more elegant, like small courtyards. It was said that they were all built according to the style of the Shepron Kingdom, the suzerain of the Lorimon Kingdom of Knighthood. If one looked down from the sky above Fantian City, they would discover that the city walls that surrounded Fantian City formed a pattern. That pattern had traces of the royal family's emblem, as well as the shadow of the star carving of the dragon nurturer. Similarly, it also had a part of the flag of King Xia Pulong. Although the overall combination couldn't be described as beautiful, it was more than enough to say that it was exquisite. By the way, Fantian City also had city walls. It seemed to separate the entire Fantian City into regions. Because of this, it looked more like a small country. However, the regions were connected to each other. There was no priority. If one had to say which region was more important, then only the central region was more important than the other regions. That was because the royal palace of the Lorimon Knighthood, the castle that was shaped like a tower, Fantian City, was located here. Originally, Fantian City was a metropolis with Fantian City as the center. Therefore, it was understandable that the central region of Fantian City was more important than the other regions. Fantian City, which was located in the central region of Fantian City, was about to become the venue for this continental conference. The representatives of the top forces from all over the continent would gather and decide the future direction of the continent. Such an important conference was held here. It also made the atmosphere of Fantian City tense. Of course, it was only the central region with Fantian City as the center that was nervous. This was the real venue for the Continental Conference. Therefore, on normal days, the rarely seen dragon knights seemed to have gathered in one place today. They rode their respective holy dragons and circled back and forth above Fantian City. The dragon knights were all armed and their faces were solemn. These dragon knights. They were all dragon knights of the Lorimon Holy Dragon Knights. During the Continental Conference, the venue and the safety of the representatives of the top forces naturally became the most important. Under such circumstances, the knighthood couldn't afford to be careless. Thus, during the limited time the Continental Conference was held, Lorimon's Holy Dragon Knights would gather and be in charge of guarding before and after the conference. When Lancelot brought Wu Yen and the others to Fantian City, the vigilant dragon knights all rode their holy dragons and adjusted their magic power, causing a whirlwind of magic power to sweep up above Fantian City. However, these dragon knights all seemed to recognize Lancelot. They knew that Lancelot was Sylvia's fall. When they confirmed that it was Lancelot and Sylvia on the dragon's back, the magic power in the sky gradually calmed down. "Your Highness Sylvia." A moment later, all the dragon knights in the sky above Fantian City lined up neatly and bowed to Sylvia in unison. "Thank you for your hard work, everyone." Sylvia responded to the dragon knights in a loud voice. With a serious expression, she slowly landed in Fantian City. The dragon knights dispersed and continued to be on guard. Phew! Yashur, who had been holding his breath since the beginning, let out a long sigh and wiped away the cold sweat that had dripped down from his forehead without him knowing. What a tight security. It's the beginning of the Continental Conference after all. It's necessary to be on guard. Wu Yen looked around at the holy dragons circling in the sky and nodded. With such a scale of security, I'm sure even the big countries wouldn't dare to act recklessly, right? Of course. Sylvia couldn't help but straighten her back proudly. The Lorimon Knighthood is a famous knight order even in the entire continent. Although the Lorimon Knighthood is only a small country in terms of military power, the knighthood is definitely not weaker than the big countries. That's because of the dragons. Yak quickly took the credit. Without the dragons, how could the knighthood be so mighty? The knighthood and the dragons are one. Sylvia retorted with some dissatisfaction. You're being too unreasonable by separating the dragons from the knighthood, aren't you? I didn't mean that. Yak immediately turned her head away in embarrassment. I'm just reminding you not to forget the contributions of the dragons. None of the knights will forget what the dragons have brought to us. Sylvia was very serious when she said this. So Yak, I hope you don't treat us as outsiders. Alright, it's my fault. Yak was helpless. As they spoke, Lancelot landed in front of Fantion City's gates and laid down on the ground. Everyone dismounted from the dragon's back and began to examine the city. It looked like an ancient castle with layers of buildings stacked on top of each other. The top of the building had a sharp shape, so it looked like a large tower. It flashed with a steel-like luster under the sun. Obviously, in terms of sturdiness, it was definitely not bad. The gates slowly opened as the group dismounted from Lancelot's back. The two majestic dragons carved on the gates were imprinted in everyone's vision. They could faintly see the light in the eyes of the two dragons. It was very vivid. Under Sylvia's lead, Wu Yen, Cosette, Yak, and Yashur walked up the stairs and entered the city. A moment later, a magnificent hall appeared before everyone's eyes. Everyone could clearly see that around the resplendent hall, there were statues of knights and dragons arranged in an orderly manner as if they were guarding something. Along with these statues, there were also 2 rows of maids dressed in the style of the palace. In the center of the hall stood a bespectacled head maidservant who looked much older than Cosette. Welcome back. In the hall of Fantion City, the maidservants lowered their heads and bowed deeply. Your Highness Sylvia. Looking at the 2 neat rows of maids saluting in unison and their loud and clear voices echoing in the surroundings, Yashio and Yak seemed to be shocked and were unable to react for a long time. Sylvia nodded calmly and looked at the bespectacled head maidservant in the center. Long time no see, Frida. Yes, Your Highness Sylvia. The maid named Frida took a step forward. The Night King has been waiting for Your Highness for a long time. Let the guests familiarize themselves with the environment first. Sylvia said, but Frida insisted. Greet the Night King first. This? All right. Sylvia hesitated and nodded helplessly. Frida looked at Wu Yen. She sized up Wu Yen for a bit before opening her mouth. This should be Roland? Sir Randall? Wu Yen paused for a second. What is it? The Night King has orders. Frida said concisely. He wants Sir Roland and Her Highness Sylvia to greet him together. Me? Wu Yen raised an eyebrow. So soon? Sylvia seemed surprised as well. Is Imperial Father in such a hurry to see Roland? Please, Sir Roland. Frida didn't answer. Instead, she turned to the side and made an inviting gesture. This maidservant is quite arrogant. Wu Yen nodded nonchalantly when this thought popped up in his mind. I can do it any time. There's no other way. Sylvia sighed. Then let's go. Chapter 1391. Under Corset's care, Wu Yen and Sylvia changed out of their dragon riding clothes and put on formal attire before heading to the Night King's residence. Walking along the endless corridor, Wu Yen stretched his body that was restrained by the formal attire and spoke in a bored tone. Why does the Night King want to see me so soon? Sylvia frowned in confusion. With my father's personality, he shouldn't be the kind of person who is thirsty for talent just because someone is more talented than him. To be honest, I don't really understand. Even you don't understand. Wu Yen continued to stretch his body while asking curiously. Speaking of which, the Night King, who is your father? What kind of person is he? Sylvia's face turned green at a speed visible to the naked eye. She seemed to have recalled something that she didn't want to recall. She sighed. You'll find out soon enough. Is that so? I hope you won't be too disappointed. Now that you mention it, I'm curious. Wu Yen has heard rumors about the Night King. Of course, they aren't all that good of a rumor. However, Wu Yen only knew that the Night King was an unqualified king. As for what kind of person the Night King was, Wu Yen didn't know. Seeing Sylvia like this, the Night King didn't seem to leave a good impression on others. What kind of person is he? With that thought in mind, Wu Yen and Sylvia arrived at the Night King's hall. Wu Yen soon found out why Sylvia didn't want to talk about her father. Oh, I've been waiting for you for a long time, my dear daughter. Along with such a horrifying voice, a black shadow suddenly rushed from the front. Halfway through, it jumped up and drew a perfect parabola in the air. It pounced on Sylvia, who just entered the hall. Wah! Wu Yen didn't expect this. To think that they would be attacked when they came to the hall where they had an audience with the Night King. So, it was a conditioned reflex. Wu Yen sent out a flying kick. It hit the face of the charging black shadow. The black shadow let out a miserable cry. He flew out at a speed faster than when he came, leaving a trail of blood behind him as he landed on his back. It smashed into the floor not far away. Its two legs twitched and straightened, then it stopped moving. Only then did Wu Yan see the full appearance of the attacker. It was a man in luxurious clothes with a cloak behind him. He had an extremely mediocre face and a large beard. It was hard to tell if he was middle-aged or old. At this moment, this uncle, who seemed to be relying on his clothes to support his image, had his face on the ground. Blood was crazily spurting out from his nostrils and there was a footprint on his face. His eyes were circled and he looked like he had fainted. It was extremely embarrassing. Where did this guy come from? That's the first sentence Wu Yan uttered with his mouth agape. Even if he wanted to attack someone, he should have sent someone more decent, right? He didn't want to attack us. On the side, Sylvia's eyebrows twitched and the corners of her mouth twitched. He wanted to attack me. Attack you? Wu Yan didn't know what to say. As if she couldn't bear to look at it, Sylvia no longer looked at the uncle who was bleeding profusely on the ground. She turned her head away and squeezed out those words with all her might. He is my father, the current Night King of the Night Kingdom of Loriman, Alvard. Night King? Wu Yan was stunned. I know you don't want to believe it, Sylvia said with a sorrowful expression. But it is the truth. Wu Yan's mouth twitched. He couldn't help but look at Alvard. He looked at the Night King who was bleeding from his nose and covering his face with circles in his eyes. In other words, I sent the current Night King flying with a kick, right? Yes. Why don't I feel fear? Dad, I feel good all over. Don't mind. Why? Because I feel the same way. The two of them looked at Alvard in silence. Wu Yan's heart was in turmoil. He finally understood why Sylvia would always have a look of disgust on her face whenever the Night King Orwald was mentioned, and why she would always try to brush him off. If Wu Yan had such a father, don't even talk about being a prince. Even if he was given the throne, he wouldn't feel that he's lucky enough to be the ruler of this world. He was simply the best of the best. Then, Wu Yan suppressed the turmoil in his heart and rubbed his forehead. Why did he suddenly lunge at me? Sylvia lowered her head and didn't say anything. However, the answer still echoed in the spacious hall. Do you even need to ask? Like a person on the verge of death, Night King Orwald suddenly raised his head. His hand that was covered in blood from his nose trembled as if he was about to die, and he extended it towards Sylvia. To give my beloved daughter a hug of love. After saying that, Alvard tilted his head and his eyes started to draw circles again. Wu Yan and Sylvia looked at each other and saw the speechless expression on each other's face. Sigh. Wu Yan sighed and looked at Sylvia. What should we do now? Let's go back. Sylvia replied without hesitation. When he wakes up, he will naturally summon us again. Is that so? Wu Yan laughed dryly. Then let's leave it at that. Although I can understand your situation, let's wait a little longer before leaving. Just as Wu Yan and Sylvia were about to turn around and leave, a metallic clanging sound entered their ears. Along with it came the sound of footsteps that reverberated through the entire space. The two of them stopped in their tracks and turned their heads at the same time to look at the source of the sound. Wearing a heavy and revealing armor, she slowly walked over from the direction of the throne. Her sharp eyes stared at Wu Yan and Sylvia. Her lips curled into a small grin. Long time no see, Roland, Sylvia. Wu Yan and Sylvia were stunned. When they realized who it was, they were shocked. Veronica, royal sister? The newcomer was the first princess of Lorraine's Kingdom of Knights, the iron-blooded Valkyrie, Veronica. Behind Veronica, Gulian, the captain of her personal guards, followed closely behind her. He was wearing the cold holy knight armor, and his eyes were equally cold. You're early. Veronica had a rare smile on her face. I thought you two would be late. When Sylvia saw Veronica's smile, she felt as if she was a prey being watched by an eagle. She instinctively shrunk her neck. It's mainly because Sylvia thinks it's better to be early. Wu Yan glanced at Sylvia. He knew Sylvia wouldn't be able to answer and could only helplessly answer. But Your Highness Veronica, why are you here? You just called me by my name and now you're calling me Your Highness. Veronica pursed her lips. She looked at Alvord as if he was a piece of trash and snorted. I didn't want to see him either, but since you're here, I thought I'd come over to say hello. Me? Wu Yan gasped. You're here because of me? Isn't that a matter of course? Veronica's lips curled into a smile. After all, I'm the one who told him to write a letter to Sylvia and have her bring you here. Wu Yan and Sylvia looked at each other. What? Veronica frowned and said with dissatisfaction. Is that strange? Not that it's weird. Wu Yan scratched his cheeks and he asked in an uncertain tone. But why did you ask me to come over? After I left Ansari, something big happened in Ansari, didn't it? Veronica's hawk-like eyes narrowed. Let's have a good talk about this. Wu Yan finally understood why Lebecca got that kind of response when she reported to the knighthood about the corpse dragon army attacking the Ansari Dragon Academy. It was all part of Veronica's plan. Chapter 1392. That was a pretty heavy kick. Holding a handkerchief, Ao Dehua wiped his face as if he was washing his face, wiping away the nosebleed and the footprints on his face. At the same time he added a regretful sentence. If possible, I wish it was my dear daughter who kicked me. Do you wish for your daughter to kick you that much? Veronica lifted her foot coldly and stomped on the ground. Her iron boots collided with the ground and stirred up a small circle of dust. I don't mind giving you a hand. Alvord shuddered and looked at Sylvia with tears streaming down his face. I just want to take a good look at my daughter's face after not seeing her for a long time. Is this too much? I don't mind letting you see. Sylvia said with a conflicted expression. Can you please do it in a normal way? Yes. Pai Wei is very normal. Alvord said solemnly. As a father, I want to take a good look at my daughter's face after not seeing her for a long time, right? That's true. Then carefully touch every hair and facial features on that beautiful face, and rub my face against it twice. That's not wrong, right? If you dare do that, I won't mind giving you another nosebleed. Wu Yan turned his head away. He didn't want to see Alvord's smitten expression and Sylvia's clenched fists. Knight King Alvord is definitely a daughter-con. Furthermore, he was a daughter-con who only had eyes for Sylvia. What's more, he was a super daughter-con. Wu Yan has seen daughter-con kings before. For example, Sylph's father, Emperor Kite of the Ailu Empire, is also a daughter-con. However, Kite at least has the demeanor of a king. His actions are normal and he even has the strength of a tier 9 knight. No one would think that he doesn't look like a king. But this Alvord. Demeanor of a king? None at all. Actions? Disgusting. Strength? So weak. How did this guy become the Night King? Did he rely on his royal bloodline? Fortunately, he didn't have any siblings. Otherwise, with the Wang family's power struggle, this fellow would definitely be cheated to the point that he would blame himself for not wearing his underwear properly. Wu Yan ignored Alvord, who was entangled with Sylvia, and shifted his attention to Veronica. What about Ursula? Why didn't he see her? During the Continental Conference, Yujiro was the commander of Lorea's Holy Dragon Knights. He must be responsible for the security of Fenshin City. He should still be arranging manpower now, right? Veronica looked at Wu Yan with a faint smile. Ever since he lost to you in the Ansari Kingdom, Ursula seems to have become more energetic than before, but he also works harder than before, especially during training. He works harder than anyone else. He even said that he would defeat you the next time. That's really something to look forward to. Wu Yan licked the corner of his mouth, a hint of interest appearing in his wine-red eyes. Let's hope Ursula can be stronger. You're the only one in the Kingdom of Knights who can say something like that. Veronica shook her head with a chuckle. I see. You're the divine horseman who defeated Commander Ursula? Alvord, who had been fooling around in front of Sylvia, turned around with a serious expression on his face. When I learned that someone defeated Commander Ursula, I wanted to meet him. She was still thinking about when to meet him, but she didn't expect that. Came so quickly. Wu Yan didn't know what to say when he saw Aoward's serious expression. It was the Night King who wrote a letter to Sylvia asking her to bring him here. Even if it was Veronica's idea, she should at least know his identity, right? Could it be that he didn't know who the person Veronica wanted him to write to Sylvia was from the very beginning? Then why did that arrogant headmaid say that it was the Night King who sent him and Sylvia to greet her? There are too many things to complain about. I'm sorry. Wu Yan resisted the urge to sigh and nodded at the Night King. Then the reason for summoning me is Her Highness Veronica's idea. The reason for summoning Sylvia is because she wants Sylvia to attend the Continental Congress. Then why did you summon Yashur and Acker? Yashur? Blake and Acker whelp? Veronica frowned when she heard Wu Yan's words. She looked at Alvord coldly. I didn't hear anything about this. This is my idea. Being stared at by Veronica's terrifying gaze, Alvord remained unmoved. I can't help it. My daughter is too outstanding. She took care of everything in the Continental Congress while I, as her father, had nothing to do. Besides, everyone is busy with work but I have nothing to do. It's too boring. Boring? Wu Yan was speechless. In other words, Sylvia's pretty face also became powerless. You're just looking for someone to kill time with, aren't you? I'm also very curious about humanoid dragons. Alvord laughed out loud, causing Veronica, who was standing at the side, to explode in anger. Boom. The iron boots kicked up a gust of wind and mercilessly lashed out like a whip at Alvarez. Alvarez screamed as his body was sent flying like a giant piece of trash. He smashed into a nearby wall and was embedded into it with his face facing the wall. Sylvia couldn't help but recall the miserable days she had spent under Veronica, and her pretty face paled as she looked at her father's pitiful fate. As expected, Sister Veronica is still as violent and terrifying as ever. Forget about that bastard, Veronica said in an unquestionable tone as she crossed her arms in front of her chest. Actually, Roland, I called you here because I have a favor to ask of you. Favor? Wu Yan and Sylvia both turned to look at Veronica. Is it about the Corpse Dragon Army attacking the Ansari Dragon Academy? It's currently a busy time for the Continental Congress. Even though I'd like to hear the reason behind it, let's put it aside for now. Veronica waved her hand. I'm looking for you because of the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress. Wu Yan took a deep breath and adjusted his attitude to be serious. Looks like it won't be that easy. It's actually quite easy provided that nothing happens. Veronica smiled in satisfaction when she saw Wu Yan turning serious. Actually, I want to ask you to attend the Continental Conference with us as a guard of the Wang family when Sylvia, that bastard, and I attend. Attend the Continental Congress together. Sylvia cried out in shock. Guard? Wu Yan focused on another word. What? There's danger in attending the Continental Congress? That's not it. It's not strange to bring a guard to the Continental Congress. It's just that there's a limit to the number of people attending. Veronica raised her hand to indicate that there's no need to worry. I have no choice but to ask you to attend as a guard. After all, there are many restrictions during the Continental Congress. One of the restrictions is that participants are not allowed to bring their dragon partners with them. There's even a magic barrier set up to prevent people from summoning dragons. Veronica narrowed her eyes at this point. But there's no rule that participants are not allowed to bring weapons. I see. Wu Yan immediately understood. The true strength of the Chivalry Kingdom lies in their dragons. The Continental Congress prohibits participants from bringing their dragon partners with them. There's also a magic barrier set up to prevent people from summoning dragons. However, it doesn't prohibit participants from bringing weapons with them. It's really unfair to the Chivalry Kingdom. Under such circumstances, even if Veronica was a powerful warrior, she wouldn't be able to provide a capable guard if something happened to her. Ursula was powerful, but without Galahad she was just an ordinary girl. That's why Veronica asked Wu Yan to be her guard. After all, not only could Wu Yan fight evenly with Gulien, who was equipped with the paladin armor, but Fall was also in his body. He didn't need to bring it or summon it. Could be released from his body at any time. It's not against the rules of the Continental Congress. As a guard, he's the best choice. I'm fine with it. Wu Yan smiled. It's just that I'll change from being the guard of the cowardly princess to the guard of the two princesses. Veronica smiled when she heard that. Then we'll leave our two princesses to you. Chapter 1393. After making up her mind about the guards, Veronica asked about the Corpse Grey Dragon Army's attack on the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy in detail. It had to be said that Veronica was indeed very concerned about Ansari. Be it the previous time when the Corpse Ash Dragon attacked Ansari City, or this time when the Corpse Ash Dragon Army attacked the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, the princess had expressed her concern and treated it with caution. If not for this, Veronica would not have personally gone to Ansari City to check on the situation. This time she also chose to get a direct description from Wu Yan instead of the whole story from the report. This also made Wu Yan admire Veronica's serious and careful attitude. It's rare for him to be so serious as he explained the entire incident from start to finish. This included the conversation with Mikuz. When Wu Yan mentioned Mikuz, Sylvia returned to her absent-minded state from a few days ago. She even ignored Veronica's occasional attempts to talk to her. Veronica's eyes revealed a hint of seriousness. The person Sylvia was most afraid of was Veronica. Now that Veronica tried to talk to Sylvia, Sylvia fell into a state of absent-mindedness and ignored her completely. This proved that Sylvia had something on her mind. It had reached a very serious stage. Veronica did not express much concern for her sister, but in terms of understanding of Sylvia, even Alvard, who was obsessed with his daughter, could not compare to Veronica. Therefore, Veronica looked at Sylvia deeply for a while before ending the conversation. Before leaving, Sylvia's footsteps were a little hesitant. His gaze also frequently shifted to Alvard, who was embedded in the wall. His ice-blue eyes were like rippling water, and his expression was very uncertain. After a long while he let out a long sigh and walked out of the hall. "Roland." Wu Yan was about to follow her when Veronica suddenly called out to him. "Can you help Sylvia with her matters?" It sounded like a plea. Gulien, who was following behind Veronica, was shocked. Valiant and skilled in battle, with the title of Iron-Blooded Valkyrie, as the current pillar of the Knight's Kingdom of Lorong. When has Veronica ever spoken to others in such a tone? At least Gulien had been protecting Veronica for so many years, but this was the first time he heard Veronica use such a tone. Furthermore, could Sylvia help them? What's going on here? Gulien was confused, but Wu Yan understood what Veronica meant. Come to think of it, Sylvia's condition must have worried Veronica as well. She's such a dishonest sister. Wu Yan smiled. Don't look at me like that. I've done a lot to enlighten Sylvia. He left this sentence without even turning his head. Wu Yan walked out of the hall. What a reliable man, I want to take him as my subordinate more and more. Veronica looked at the door. She narrowed her eyes. But isn't he a bit too close to Sylvia? When Veronica said this, her words were full of jealousy, completely forgetting that she was the one who asked for it. Even though Gulien's heart was frozen, he couldn't help but smile bitterly. Your Royal Highness. Cosette, who was waiting in the corridor, greeted Sylvia with his usual smile when he saw her walking out of the hall. However, Sylvia acted as if she didn't see Cosette. She walked past Cosette and continued forward. Your Royal Highness? The smile on Cosette's face disappeared and was replaced by a trace of worry. Her Royal Highness seems to have returned to how she was before. Lord Lune. Wu Yan walked out of the hall and was greeted by Cosette's worried face. Patting Cosette's shoulder to tell her not to worry, Wu Yan took a step forward and caught up with Sylvia, walking side by side with her. Wu Yan, Sylvia and Cosette's footsteps echoed clearly in the hallway. The atmosphere between the three of them was rather heavy and oppressive. At the same time, Sylvia's heart felt oppressive as well. Sylvia felt a sense of loss as she listened to the footsteps beside her that seemed to be synchronizing with her footsteps. At the same time, her depressed heart also eased a little. Come to think of it, regardless of whether it was during the Corpse Ash Dragon's attack on Ansari, when Royal Sister came to the academy, or when he faced Makawas on the top floor of the Templar Bell Tower, this person was always by his side. He even helped him a lot and became his spiritual pillar. Without him, she wouldn't have been able to obtain Fall and become a dragon cultivator. Without him, she wouldn't have been able to realize the weakness in her heart and bravely face the enemy. Without him, she wouldn't have been able to defeat Wall and obtain Royal Sister's approval. Without him, she wouldn't have been able to get a little comfort when Mikaos disturbed her heart. Now he must have noticed her abnormality and worried him, right? Only now did Sylvia realize how much trouble she had caused for him, and how much she relied on him. When would he be able to take charge of something on his own? Did anyone tell you that you're not good at hiding things? Just as Sylvia started complaining to herself, Wu Yan abruptly blurted out such a sentence that made Sylvia stunned. She couldn't help but turn around and look at Wu Yan. Wu Yan didn't look back. He walked forward and spoke as if he was talking to himself. As the princess of the Knight's Kingdom, I'm sure she must have a lot of worries. However, having worries and hiding them are two different things. Even Veronica has been looking for capable assistants and has been sending invitations to Becca, Corset and me, hasn't she? His meaning was clear. He wanted Sylvia to learn to rely on others. Sylvia lowered her head and her expression changed again. Not long after, it turned into bitterness. Why are you able to pull me back in time every time? I can't help it. Wu Yan shrugged. Because I'm the cowardly princess's guardian. Cowardly. Sylvia couldn't refute him. Lifting her head, her clear blue eyes gazed at Wu Yan's side profile. Sylvia's eyes finally showed a pleading expression. Recently, I've been troubled by something. Wu Yan stopped and turned around to face Sylvia. Corset also looked at Wu Yan with gratitude. She then focused on Sylvia. Sylvia didn't hide anything. She directly told Corset what had been troubling her. That man gave me a familiar feeling. I haven't seen him in a long time. A very familiar feeling that I haven't felt in a long time? Corset raised her eyebrows. You mean? Wu Yan asked with uncertainty. You suspect that Mikhails is someone you know? I suspect. Sylvia clenched her teeth. Mikhails is most likely my royal brother Julius. Loriaman. Wah. Corset sucked in a breath of cold air. Julius. Wu Yan's eyes narrowed. Julius. Loriaman. Although it was only a rumor, Wu Yan knew this person. The eldest son of the Knight royal family, a former prince who violated a taboo by killing his own fall and was sentenced to death. In other words, this was someone who was supposed to be dead. Your Highness. Corset couldn't help but speak. But Prince Julius should have been executed already, right? That's why this is only my intuition. Sylvia replied with a heavy tone. But I don't understand. If my brother isn't dead, why would he become a pawn of the Empire? Why would he bring disaster to the Night Kingdom time and time again? Sylvia bit her lips. A pained expression appeared on her face. After all, Julius wasn't just Sylvia's brother, he was also someone she had always admired since she was young. If such an existence stood on the opposite side of her, the pain in her heart would be unimaginable. Your Highness. Corset worriedly held Sylvia's slender shoulders. Wu Yan looked at Sylvia's pained expression and lowered his head. His eyes flickered with a thoughtful light. Chapter 1394. Night. There was no such thing as darkness in the night sky of Fantion City. This was because every night the entire Vatian city would be lit up with all kinds of colors. The colorful lights illuminated the entire Vatian city and the night sky of Vatian City. In this world, dragons that could fly were almost everywhere in the knighthood of Lormon. Because Fantion City was the capital of the knighthood of Lormon, some airships would visit from time to time at night. Therefore, in order to distinguish whether a visitor was a friend or a foe, the illumination of the night sky became a necessary measure. In the night sky of Fantion City, countless lights moved back and forth in the sky like beams of light. The dragon knights of the Lormon Knight Legion who were patrolling would occasionally ride on their holy dragons and expose themselves to the lights. Then they would flash past and continue patrolling. Usually there would be lamps in Fantion City that illuminated the night sky at night, but there weren't as many as there were these days. Now, due to the Continental Congress, there were more lamps that illuminated the night sky, almost exposing the entire night sky to the light. Under the illumination of the lights, in the distance, an extremely large airship was slowly moving towards Fantion City. It was an airship that was much larger than Veronica's Sylvanus. Its appearance wasn't as prominent as Sylvanus's. It was just an extremely ordinary ship shape. However, the appearance of the ship was very luxurious, like a luxurious airship that had been greatly enlarged. It was also covered in layers of steel. Although it didn't look as elegant as Sylvanus, it had its own aura. At the top of this airship, a flag was fluttering in the wind, causing those who had discovered the whereabouts of the airship to gather. After the spotlights on the airship shone on this flag, it was as if the alarm had been lifted, and all of them returned to their posts. It continued to wander in the sky. Clearly, Fantion City had tacitly approved of the airship's entry. Because this flag was the flag of the Cyphros Empire. Below the flag on the side of the airship, a large family crest was engraved there. That was the crest of a famous noble family in the Cyphros Empire, the Witthausen family. The emperor of the Sepharos Empire declined to attend this year's Continental Conference, citing his old age. Let the current head of the Witthausen family attend the Continental Conference as the representative of the Sepharis Empire. At this time, in front of the deck of this airship, a handsome man with blonde hair and a pair of gray eyes stood side by side with a silver-haired man wearing a silver mask. He looked down at the city of Fenshin. The silver-haired man with the mask was Makawo's. As for the handsome man with blonde hair, he was the current head of the Witthausen family, the representative of the Sepharos Empire who was about to attend the Continental Conference. Klaus. At the same time, Klaus was also Makawo's protector. In other words, Mikatora's was helping Klaus and Klaus was Mikatora's superior. The capital of the Knight's Kingdom of Lorraine? Klaus held a glass of red wine. A leisurely smile hung on his face. She does look pretty, but unfortunately she doesn't fit my taste. Klaus raised his head and looked at the holy dragons hovering in the sky. A blurry color appeared in his eyes. On the contrary, the dragons are the ones that fit my taste the most. Look at how they fly, their majestic bodies, their powerful strength, it's really irresistible. Enough with the nonsense. Mikatoras withdrew his gaze, turned around and coldly said, "Have you prepared everything?" Klaus sighed when he saw that Mikatoras didn't show the slightest bit of respect towards his superior. "Still as cold as ever, but this is also a beauty that belongs to you." Klaus chuckled with a somewhat disgusting comment. The Arcanitech device excavated from the ancient ruins is already being adjusted inside the airship. The experts are adding Millennium Chi Hua Crystal to it, preparing to activate it. Millennium Chi Hua Crystal? Mikatoras nodded. The so-called Millennium Chi Hua Crystal didn't refer to the Dragon Chi Hua Crystal that the dragons secrete regularly, but a type of fossil. It's a precious fossil formed by a dragon's corpse after thousands of years underground. Just like the Dragon Chi Hua Crystal, the Millennium Chi Hua Crystal is also a type of crystal that contains mana. However, compared to the Dragon Chi Hua Crystal, the Millennium Chi Hua Crystal contains a lot of mana. Some of it is even comparable to the mana of a holy dragon. Because of that, the Millennium Chi Hua Crystal is usually used as fuel for Arcanitech ships or airships. It's very rarely used in Arcanitech devices. If a magical device required the use of the Millennium Chi Hua Crystal, it meant that the magical device's function was definitely not ordinary. Based on the conversation between Klaus and Mikatoras, it seems like there's a device that requires Millennium Chi Hua Crystal in the airship. So how's the progress? The assembly is almost complete, and we are now entering the final inspection stage. However, because that device uses the 1000-year Chi Hua Crystal as its power source, we must pay more attention. The final inspection will definitely take a lot of time. A lot of time? Mikatoras frowned. You should know that we don't have much time left. We can afford to wait for a night, right? Klaus shook his head with a smile. We should be able to officially activate the device tomorrow afternoon for the experiment. Is that so? Makawo's expression relaxed. He looked down at the city of Fenshin again. That's good. Why are you so worried? Klaus swirled the wine in his glass. I also need the help of that Devil Dao device, although I still have a dubious attitude. Klaus looked at Mikatoras with a smile on his face. However, the look in his eyes gradually turned strange. Can that device really awaken the last descendant of the Holy Dragon royal family, the young dragon Yak, and reveal her true form? Hearing that, Mikhaos shot a cold glare at Klaus. Are you doubting me? No, of course not. Klaus quickly waved his hand. Of course I believe you, my dear Mikatoras. You don't have to worry so much, Klaus. You just have to believe in me. Mikatoras snorted. As long as you do as I say, it's only a matter of time before you obtain the power of the Dragon Clan. With the Dragon Clan as your backing, the throne of the Emperor that you've always dreamed of will be within your reach. Klaus' eyes flashed with greed when he heard the words throne of the Emperor, but he quickly hid it. I look forward to the day you fulfill your promise, Mikatoras. Klaus looked up at the holy dragons dancing in the sky. His smile widened and he seemed to be in a trance. Truly beautiful to the point of being speechless. Just that powerful posture alone has already conquered me, not to mention that strength that far surpasses that of a human. Dragon Clan, you'll become mine sooner or later and help me ascend to the throne. Seeing that Klaus was in a trance and intoxicated by the soaring holy dragon, Makawos silently turned around and walked towards the interior of the ship. "My dear Micah Torres," Klaus asked without looking back. "Where are you going?" "Prepare the materials for the experiment." Mika's reply was short and concise. "How are you going to conduct the experiment without the experiment materials?" Klaus immediately revealed a satisfied smile. "Then I'll have to trouble you to capture the experiment materials that are jumping around, Micah Torres." Micah Torres ignored Klaus and walked out of the deck. He entered the interior of the airship that was slowly descending. Walking along the dimly lit corridor, Makawos gently raised his head. On the mask, the pair of eyes that were exposed in the eye sockets suddenly flashed with a fierce glint. Shortly after, the pupils in his eyes completely changed. They looked like a snake, a tiger, a wolf, a fox. They were a pair of dragon eyes. The corners of Mikavez's mouth curled up slightly. That cold temperament suddenly disappeared and was replaced by a ghostly, extremely evil smile. "The last descendant of the Holy Dragon clan of Avalon and that white dragon. Yak Loon, wait for me." Chapter 1395. Phew. Lying on the bed of a certain VIP room in Fantian City, Wu Yen sprawled out on the bed. He gazed at the luxurious ceiling and he exhaled. He didn't know if he was tired or relaxed. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock sound echoed in the quiet room. It's so clear that it caught Wu Yan's attention. Wu Yan reached out his hand and rummaged around in his clothes. He found the source of the sound and held it in his hand before raising it in front of him. It was a silver pocket watch with the emblem of the royal family of Lorimon carved on it. It wasn't very luxurious, but it was obviously not ordinary. It was the Dragon Knight's proof. Only the rider of the Holy Dragon, who had the title of Dragon Knight, could receive this gift from the royal family of Lorimon. The initial goal of all the dragon breeders of Lorimon was to let their fall evolve into a holy dragon and obtain this silver pocket watch. Back then, Veronica visited Ansari and made a duel with Wu Yen. In the duel, Wu Yen defeated the captain of the Lorimon Holy Dragon Knights, who was once known as the strongest Holy Dragon Knight, Yuzura Sarver. With Veronica's approval, Salvin received the Dragon Knight certificate and became a true Dragon Knight. But it wasn't strange. Even if one didn't talk about strength, the White Dragon's burning flame was far stronger than the holy dragons of the dragon race. It was different from the other holy dragons in terms of form. It was very elegant. However, the mana released at that time was definitely more powerful than that of an ordinary holy dragon. Holy dragon riders could receive the Dragon Knight's proof and become Dragon Knights. Just exposing the White Dragon's burning flame to others was enough to give Wu Yen such a reputation. Not to mention, the White Dragon's burning flame was stronger than any other holy dragon. Plus, he defeated Yuzura. In fact, Wu Yen was called Dragon Knight. That was a bit inappropriate. After all, Yuzura, who was defeated by Wu Yen, also had the title of Holy Dragon Knight. No matter what, Wu Yen should at least have the same glory as the Holy Dragon Knight. It's a pity that the title is reserved for those who received the Holy Knight armor from the Holy Dragons. Wu Yen didn't use the Holy Knight armor from start to finish. That's why. No matter how strong the White Dragon's burning flame was, Wu Yen couldn't get the Holy Dragon Knight title. Of course, Wu Yen didn't think much of it. Titles and whatnot, once he leaves this world, what's the use of them? It's better to get this pocket watch. He thought so. Wu Yen also opened the lid of the Dragon Knight certificate so that he could see the structure clearly. With the passage of time, minute by minute, the operation of the dial was imprinted into his eyes. It's already night time. Looking at the time, Wu Yen put away the silver pocket watch and looked at the ceiling again. The Continent's conference was about to start. There were still 2 days left. On the night of the day after tomorrow, a group of representatives from the top factions of Aluxtron would be holding a conference in Fantian City. They would be discussing the future of the continent. At that time, Wu Yen would also be attending the conference as a personal guard of the royal family. As a guard, Wu Yen naturally didn't have the right to speak. He also couldn't be like Sylvia, who would become a key figure of the kingdom in the future. However, if news of Wu Yan's attendance at the conference spread throughout the Knight's empire, it would be a boost to his reputation. The conference was so important that only a limited number of guards could attend. Knight Loriamon's royal family choosing a guard was equivalent to picking 1 or 2 out of the millions of citizens of the Knight's kingdom. It indirectly proved that the person had the most outstanding ability among the millions of citizens of the Knight's Kingdom. At that time, Wu Yan's reputation would spread even wider. One day he might even surpass the silent Saintess Ursula. However, that was also meaningless to Wu Yan. It was still the same thing. He would leave this world sooner or later. Reputation wasn't as important as a silver pocket watch. As he thought about it, Wu Yan felt a bit sleepy. He blinked twice and gradually closed his eyes. However, before he could completely close his eyes, a knock on the door woke Wu Yan up. Wu Yan got up from the bed and patted his cheeks. "Come in." "Excuse me." The door was silently opened. The next moment, Corset's cute and playful appearance appeared outside. "Corset." Wu Yan turned his head and looked at the door. "What is it?" "Lord Lune." Corset smiled calmly. "Tonight the Night King will be holding a banquet. I am here to invite you to attend." "Banquet?" Wu Yan felt a headache coming on just by listening to this line. "Can I not attend?" Hearing this, even Cosette didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Since the Night King had already given the order to meet him, there was probably only one person in the entire Lorraine knighthood who would reject him with such an impatient expression. Apart from Veronica, Sylvia, and the others who knew everything about the Night King Orwald, there was probably only one person in the entire Lorraine knighthood. "I don't think so." Corset lowered her posture and rolled her eyes at Wu Yan. "The Night King personally summoned him. Even if Lord Lune is impatient, he has to go up and play along. Like you said, it's perfunctory." Wu Yan rubbed his forehead. "There is no other way. I have to go, yes." Corset smiled from ear to ear. "But before that, please take a bath in the bathroom." "Taking a bath for a meal? The Wang family sure has a hard time." Wu Yan shook his head and stood up. "Then let's go." "Yes." Corset bowed and led Wu Yan out the door. Wu Yan didn't notice that the moment Corset turned around, a mischievous look appeared in her purple eyes. Inside the city of Fontaine, in a bathhouse the size of a lake, steam filled the space. The fragrance of the bath lotion rose from the steaming water and mixed with the air. The entire bathhouse was filled with the refreshing scent of a forest. At this moment, a young girl was lying in the bathtub that was as vast as a lake. She was completely naked. More than half of her voluptuous upper body was floating in the water. Her fair body was faintly discernible in the water. Under the influence of the steam, a faint blush appeared. Her long golden hair was coiled up and her pure white neck shone with a pearl-like luster in the bathhouse. She was extremely beautiful. Leaning against the pillar under the statue of the first Night King in the middle of the bathhouse, Sylvia didn't wash her body. Her icy blue eyes were unfocused and unfocused. It was clear that Sylvia was still thinking about Mikhails and Julius. Sylvia's mood was very complicated. She hoped that Mikhails was Julius, but she also hoped that Mikhails wasn't Julius. She was conflicted to the extreme. If Mikhails was Julius, then her brother wasn't dead. That was definitely something to be happy about. But at the same time, if Mikhails was Julius, then it proved that the person who repeatedly sabotaged Ansari and worked for the Safar's empire was her brother. That was something Sylvia didn't want to see. But Sylvia also hoped that her brother wasn't dead. Because of this, her mind kept drifting back and forth in this conflicted state, tormenting Sylvia's nerves. Sigh. Sylvia let out a complicated sigh. She turned her body to the side and her voluptuous breasts rippled through the water, making people uneasy. At this time, a voice echoed outside the bathhouse. "We're here, Cosette?" Sylvia came back to her senses and stood up. "It's time to go out." However, another voice rang out, causing Sylvia's alluring body, which was half exposed above the water, to freeze on the spot. "I say, Cosette, don't tell me you want to serve me in the bath?" This voice. Sylvia's eyes widened in disbelief. Sylvia had only known the owner of this voice for about 3 months, but whether it was the voice or the owner to Sylvia, they were both deeply etched in her heart. Therefore it was impossible for Sylvia to be mistaken. That was clearly Wu Yan's voice. Chapter 1396. Rune. Sylvia was confused. Why is Wu Yan here? That's not right, there's a dinner party tonight. Alvarez probably invited Wu Yan as well. Sylvia can guess that much. It's not strange for him to bathe before a dinner party with the royal family. But why would the other party come here when she was bathing? There's more than one bathroom in Phantom City. This bathroom is reserved for the royal family. Logically speaking, Wu Yan shouldn't be here. Did I hear wrong? It was a pity that the conversation that followed completely shattered Sylvia's fantasies. Lord Rune, the dinner party is about to begin. You should hurry. I know. Can you please leave first? Why? Isn't it obvious? Don't you know the difference between men and women? Ah, Lord Rune, don't you want me to serve you in the bath? Although it sounds very good, isn't this a male bathroom? This bathroom is special. Not only is it the largest bathroom in Phantom City, there's no distinction between men and women. Lord Rune, don't worry. Then I won't see a girl bathing in there, right? Since this bathroom is so special, it's naturally not a place anyone can enter. Then can you let me in? It's fine. I don't think so. Why don't you take me to a normal male bathroom? Lord Rune is a VIP. How can you go to a normal bathroom? But. All right. Lord Rune, leave it to me. Forget it. Do as you wish. This time Sylvia finally understood. It's all Corset's doing. Sylvia trembled with anger. As Sylvia's personal maid, Cosette was naturally the one who helped Sylvia take off her clothes when she bathed. In other words, Corset knew that Sylvia was bathing in the bathroom. She even brought Wu Yan here. Despicable Corset. Sylvia gritted her teeth. Then Lord Rune, please go in. Yes. The rather helpless voice traveled into the bathroom from afar, causing Sylvia to finally react. Looking at the blurry figure in the white mist that was getting closer and closer to the bathroom door, Sylvia panicked. Without a second thought, Sylvia stomped her feet like a mermaid in the bathtub. Drawing a beautiful arc, it swam past the central stone pillar and hid behind it. At the same time, Wu Yan also entered the bath. He swam to the pillar and leaned against it. She breathed softly. It smells good, it doesn't seem like a bath gel. Wu Yan said when he smelled the fragrance in the air. Could it be that a girl just took a bath here? His careless words had hit the nail on the head. Sylvia's heart skipped a beat and her heartbeat sped up. Her pretty face turned red with a pang. No. Wu Yan leaned on one side of the pillar while Sylvia leaned on the other. The two of them were separated by a pillar and had their backs facing each other. They were even bathing in the same bath. Sylvia blushed at the thought of this. She couldn't help but start imagining Wu Yan's body. Unfortunately, Wu Yan once bathed with Sylvia on Sylvanus. When Sylvia thought about it, Wu Yan's body became clearer and clearer in her mind. Sylvia was so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She, as a princess, was actually fantasizing about the naked body of a man. She was too shameless. Sylvia couldn't help but imagine Wu Yan's body. The blood in her body is boiling due to her embarrassment and anger. Sylvia's pretty face is getting redder and redder. It's worrying if she's going to faint just like that. What happened next made Sylvia faint. Wu Yan, who was enjoying himself with his eyes closed, heard the sound of someone entering the water. He opened his eyes in confusion and looked towards the source of the sound. Wu Yan's eyes widened and he subconsciously covered his nose. An extremely beautiful and curvy figure appeared in front of Wu Yan without the slightest bit of concealment. Wu Yan's eyes were imprinted on it. Her skin was as white as powder. Her curves were alluring. Her full and round breasts swam through the water and gradually sank into the bath. However, they couldn't be covered by the water surface. She was clearly holding a towel in her hand, but she did not use it to cover her body. Instead, she gently rubbed it against her face as if she was wiping her sweat. This kind of action caused her perfectly round eyes to undulate, causing one's face to tighten and one's heartbeat to accelerate to the limit. Cosette. Wu Yan raised his head. He tried to avoid the sudden shock that might have caused him to overreact. This perk is too much. Lord Lune, you didn't do this when you bathed with Her Royal Highness in Sylvanus. Cosette shook her smooth shoulders as if she was about to cry. Is it that uncomfortable to bathe with me? Uncomfortable. It is indeed uncomfortable. Wu Yan began to take deep breaths to suppress the uneasiness in his heart. This stimulation is too strong. Is that so? As if she changed her expression, Cosette's sobbing expression was replaced by a flower-like smile. Lord Lune, there's something even more exciting. Something even more exciting. Wu Yan instinctively froze. At the same time, the sound of water splashing entered his ears. Cosette came to Wu Yan's side without any explanation. Before Wu Yan could react, her body suddenly fell into his arms. Her pair of plump breasts pressed against him without any hesitation. Her red lips exhaled a sweet breath. Her purple eyes flickered as she whispered in a blurred voice. "Lord Lune, let me give you a massage." Wu Yan subconsciously hugged the petite figure that threw herself into his arms. Feeling the soft touch at such close distance, his taut heartstrings snapped in an instant. Gently sliding his hands on Cosette's soft back, one hand down and the other hand up, Wu Yan looked into Cosette's blurred eyes. Traces of evil thoughts appeared in his eyes. "How about letting me give you a massage?" Before she finished her words, Wu Yan had already begun his massage. Cosette suddenly gasped for breath. In the silent bathroom, Cosette's seductive panting continued to reverberate and became louder and louder. Wu Yan and Cosette's bodies were getting closer and closer. Just as the two of them were about to merge together, a voice that was filled with shame, anger, and hysteria resounded like thunder. "Stop." Sylvia couldn't bear it any longer and rushed out from behind the stone pillar. In a moment she arrived beside Wu Yan and Cosette and forcefully separated them. Shameless. Shameless. Her pretty face was as red as a bright rose. Her fair body trembled violently. She grabbed Cosette's shoulders and shook her. "I didn't expect my personal maid to be such a person." "Your Highness." Cosette's expression was one of astonishment. But if one looked closely, one would discover a trace of a smile in her clear eyes. "Why are you here?" "Why am I here?" Sylvia was enraged. "Isn't it because—" "Ah." Before Sylvia could finish her sentence, Cosette pushed Sylvia with a smile. "My hand slipped." Sylvia cried out in surprise. Her naked body fell back and in the next second she fell on a robust body. It's Wu Yan who still hasn't recovered from Sylvia's appearance. Of course, this wasn't the most coincidental thing. What was truly coincidental was that their lips just so happened to be overlapping at this moment. Sylvia's eyes were wide open and filled with shock. Wu Yan's mouth was wide open and his jaw almost fell to the ground. But when he opened his mouth, it just happened to open Sylvia's lips. Sylvia's tongue slid into Wu Yan's mouth like a snake released from its cage and tangled with Wu Yan's tongue. Sylvia's eyes opened even wider. Wu Yan's mouth also opened even wider. Just like that, the two muddle-headed started to entangle their tongues. Ugh. In the bathroom, new gasps turned into ripples in the air. Chapter 1397. Fantion City in a luxurious lounge. In the vast area, circular pillars were arranged along the walls in an orderly manner, all the way up to the high ceiling. In the lounge, sofas, tables and chairs as well as a thick fireplace occupied an insignificant corner of the lounge. In front of him a tall door stood. The dining hall of the royal family of knights was right behind that door. Wu Yan was standing in the lounge. Cosette was helping him tidy up the collar of his tuxedo-like suit. Yashur was also doing the same. It seemed that he was not used to this suit. Only Yak was still staring at the door of the dining hall with full spirit, saliva dripping from the corner of her mouth. Obviously, this gluttonous dragon was already itching for the food at the banquet. Sigh. Wu Yan let Cosette sway his body. His shoulders drooped down as if he was exhausted. He scratched his cheek. Dining with the royal family is really tiring. It had been 2 to 3 hours since Cosette had informed him that he needed to attend the luncheon and had come out of his room. In these 2 to 3 hours, Wu Yan was not only asked to take a bath in the bathroom, but he also had to pick out the clothes to wear at the banquet. After much difficulty, he finally picked out a set of clothes from the pile in the lounge. Because of his appearance, he was swayed by Cosette for nearly half an hour. It's just a meal. Is there a need to go to this extent? Does the royal family have to prepare 2 to 3 hours in advance every time they have a meal? That will shorten my lifespan, right? Really? Yashur couldn't help but complain. But after all, it's a meal with the royal family. It's only right to be cautious. Master Yashur was right this time, Master Lune. Cosette replied with a smile while tidying up Wu Yan's clothes. There's a saying that goes, accompanying a king is like accompanying a tiger. In the past, there were people who left a bad impression on the royal family because of their appearance. Because of this, the royal family was angry and ordered to punish them. So it's necessary to be cautious. Do you have any impression? Wu Yan couldn't help but recall Alfred's attitude and behavior towards Sylvia in the audience hall. He immediately rejected the idea. No, I think so. This Night King won't feel the slightest bit of displeasure because of his appearance. Hearing Wu Yan's very certain statement, Yashur and Yak were somewhat startled. Only Cosette chuckled softly. As Sylvia's personal maid, Cosette naturally knew what kind of person Alfred was, and also understood the meaning behind Wu Yan's words. Wasn't the Night King Orward the most important person to pay attention to his appearance? Before long, in the corridor beside the lounge, an icy blue figure slowly walked in, accompanied by the sound of high heels clicking on the ground. It was as if an ice-blue lotus had bloomed in the lounge. Almost instantly everyone's eyes were attracted to that figure. She was wearing an ice-blue dress. Her smooth shoulders were exposed, and under the illumination of the lounge's lights, there was a slight arc of light. Her slender thighs rubbed against the hem of her dress, faintly discernible. It made one's blood boil and their heartbeats quicken. Her long golden hair was tied into a bun, and the cold color of the dress set off the luster of her golden hair and her fair skin, making her dazzling and moving. As the other person approached, her presence in the air gradually increased, and her intoxicating figure was reflected in everyone's eyes. So beautiful. The person who came was Sylvia. Sylvia. Yak opened her mouth wide in astonishment. Was this person who was as beautiful as a daughter of a wealthy family Sylvia, who had always been strict, aggressive and strict in her actions? So beautiful. Yashur was also stunned by the sight and gave such a comment without hesitation. Even Wu Yan was stunned on the spot. Looking at the flower-like Sylvia, he couldn't react for a long time. What are you all doing? Sylvia glanced at herself awkwardly as everyone stared at her blankly. Is there a problem with my dress? It's not a problem with the dress, Your Highness. Cosette, who appeared behind Sylvia, grinned and whispered into Sylvia's ear. Everyone thinks you're too beautiful. Beautiful? Sylvia stared blankly for a moment. Then, just like the Sylvia that everyone knew, her pretty face instantly blushed because she couldn't bear the shyness that surged into her heart. It's really not bad. Coming back to his senses, Wu Yan didn't hide his praise. Wear it often in the future. Hearing that, as if cooked, Sylvia's cheeks were dyed red. When she saw Wu Yan's gaze, even her ears were red. She wanted to dig a hole and crawl into it. Seeing Sylvia blushing like a rose and wanting to run away, Wu Yan found it funny. Not long ago the two of them were naked in the same bathroom in the same bath. Wu Yan already expected Sylvia to act this way. Thinking of this, the memory of the bathroom also came back to Wu Yan's mind. Because Cosette pushed her, Sylvia kissed him like a dog's blood. In the end, because both of them were immersed, the two of them unknowingly kissed in the bath naked for nearly 10 minutes. In the end, when they finally reacted, Sylvia's face was already red as she screamed and ran away. This ripple finally came to an end. Given Sylvia's personality, being able to stand face to face with him should be her limit, right? Thinking of this, Wu Yan also looked at Sylvia. Seeing Sylvia's blushing face, he helplessly spread his hands. All right, let's stop the small talk here. The Night King is already waiting for everyone. Cosette arrived at the door in front of the lounge and pushed it open. Your Highness, Lord Rune, Lord Yashur Aichen, please come with me. Phantom City Wang family's dining hall. At the head of a long table that was more than 6 to 7 meters long, Night King Overd grinned as he watched Wu Yan's group enter the hall and laughed out loud. You're finally here? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Night King. Yashur's body stiffened as he looked at Alvarez, who was laughing in an amicable manner. Now the person who was laughing in front of him was the king of this country. As an ordinary civilian, Yashur's nervousness in front of the king of the Night Kingdom of Lorea is unimaginable. Don't be so reserved. Overd seemed to have seen through Yashur's nervousness and nodded as if comforting him. This is just a banquet, relax. Yashur, relax. Sylvia opened one of her eyes. Your submissive behavior is the real disrespect. As a student of the Ansari Kingdom's Dragon Riding Academy, you should be more at ease. Sylvia, you're here too? Before Sylvia could finish her reprimanding words, a voice as steady as steel rang out from behind her. This voice. Sylvia's body stiffened as if she was a clockwork doll. Her neck made cracking sounds as she turned around. Then her entire face turned pale. Should I say it's an unexpected reaction? Behind Sylvia, Veronica, who was dressed in her usual armor, stared at Sylvia with her eagle-like eyes. She curled her lips in dissatisfaction. As expected of a cowardly princess, why? Sylvia took a few steps back and stuttered like a mouse that saw a cat. Royal sister. Oh, you. Wu Yan covered his eyes as he couldn't bear to look at Sylvia. Weren't you saying something about being at ease? Sylvia lowered her head awkwardly and couldn't say anything. All right, the banquet should begin. Overd, who was sitting at the head of the table, spoke up. Everyone take your seats. Wu Yan, Sylvia, Veronica, Yak, and Yashur looked at each other and sat around the table. Chapter 1398. Actually, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time now. At the start of the banquet, Alward said this sentence. Roland, Yashur, Miss Yak, it's all thanks to your efforts that Ansari was able to survive the invasion of the corpse ash dragon. Without you, the entire Ansari would have been razed to the ground. Alvard stood up and bowed deeply to Wu Yan, Yashur, and Yak. As the Night King, I would like to express my gratitude to you on behalf of the entire Ansari. Imperial Father. Veronica and Sylvia were both stunned. Night King. Yashur was shocked as well. Even Wu Yan and Yak were shocked. As the king of the Night Kingdom of Lormung, the Night King's status was undoubtedly the highest in the kingdom. And now, this king was bowing to a group of students who weren't even nobles and could only be considered as commoners. This impact left Veronica and Sylvia flabbergasted. Look at you, is this how a king should behave? Veronica frowned. No matter what, you are still the Night King. Do you think others will be happy to see a king who lowers his head so casually? This isn't a casual matter. Faced with Veronica's accusation, Alvarez retorted. Roland has the ability to defeat Commander Ursula and will be our bodyguard in the future. His abilities have been praised by you and his future achievements will not be below Commander Ursula's or even yours. Miss Ai Ku is the Dragon Clan's empress. Her status is at least equal to us. Furthermore, Yashu is Miss Ai Ku's master. Don't tell me that these three people are not worthy of my salute as the Night King to express my gratitude? Veronica was speechless. Those who are eating at the same table with us can be said to be the future of our chivalry nation. It was rare for Alvard to display the attitude of a king as he solemnly warned. I also hope that you can put down your pride and improve together with the future pillars of our kingdom. Do you understand? Veronica didn't say anything else. Sylvia nodded in agreement with Alvard's words. Seeing this, Wu Yan's impression of the Night King rose by several levels. No matter how much Alvarez praised the three of them, other than Yak, Wu Yan and Yashur didn't have high statuses. This was a fact. In this world, Wu Yan's identity was said to be Rebecca's bodyguard, but to put it bluntly, he was just a servant of a noble. Yashur was even more of a commoner. Under such circumstances, Alvarez was still able to put down his colored glasses to look at them and put down his pride. It was hard to judge whether or not he had the bearing of a king by bowing and thanking them. But from an individual's point of view, this kind of performance was definitely enough to win the favor of others. This Howard. Although he was mediocre, he was not muddle-headed. There are still some advantages. You're being too courteous. One doesn't hit a smiling person. Wu Yan nodded in response. Just like Her Highness Veronica, as a princess she should protect the kingdom. As students of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy, we should protect Ansari. Her Highness Sylvia also stood up when the corpse gray dragon attacked the academy. Shouldn't she be rewarded? Of course, I won't forget how active my daughter is. Alvarez first looked at Wu Yan with praise before laughing out loud. I already knew how much effort Sylvia put in to protect the academy from the report. She will definitely be rewarded. No. No such thing. Sylvia lowered her head in embarrassment. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and smiled. He seemed to be teasing or joking when he said that. The Night King really dotes on his daughters. Of course. Alvarez puffed up his chest and replied in high spirits. My daughters are the most outstanding existences in the world. Of course I dote on them. This guy. Sylvia felt even more embarrassed. She even gritted her teeth. Even Veronica felt uncomfortable. She stared at Alvard with her sharp, eagle-like eyes, wishing she could peel off a layer of flesh from his body. On the other hand, Wu Yan's smile deepened. I really envy Her Highness Veronica and Her Highness Sylvia. With such a doting father, no matter how grave the crimes they committed, the Night King would take responsibility for them, right? They are my most complacent children. Which father in the world wouldn't take responsibility for his children who caused trouble? Alvarez spoke without hesitation as though he was floating in the air. No matter how grave the crimes they committed, as long as I'm here, I won't let anything happen to them. Hearing this, Veronica and Sylvia couldn't help but smile despite their embarrassment. Yashur and Yak also had a whole new level of respect for this seemingly amiable uncle. Only Wu Yan's smile slowly faded. That's true. Which father wouldn't take responsibility for his children who caused trouble? Wu Yan mumbled to himself as if he was chewing on those words. His words sounded like a thunderclap. So, even if Prince Julius didn't kill his own dragon but someone else's with the Night King's love for his children, he would still protect him, right? The air in the entire venue seemed to freeze when these words were spoken. It sank and instantly caused a cold current to surge in everyone's heart, causing everyone present to freeze on the spot. Alfred's smile froze on his face. Veronica, Sylvia, Yak, Yashur, and the others were also stunned by the sudden shocking words, frozen in their seats in a daze. Looking straight at the frozen Alvarez, Wu Yan's eyes slowly narrowed. It seems that Prince Julius isn't dead. Wah! Veronica's expression changed. Father. Sylvia finally understood the meaning behind Wu Yan's words. She looked at Alvarez with a complicated expression. You. What nonsense are you spouting? Alvarez completely lost his cool. Sweat dripped from his forehead, but he pretended to be angry and slammed the table as he stood up. Are you doubting the fairness of the royal knight family? Rather than saying that I'm doubting the fairness of the royal knight family, it's more accurate to say that, Your Majesty, I'm just doubting that with your personality, you wouldn't be able to mercilessly sentence your own son. Wu Yan ignored Alvarez's barely maintained dignity and once again spoke words that shocked everyone except Sylvia. Do you know that your son Julius might have already become a citizen of the Cyphros Empire? He might even be the mastermind behind the corpse dragon's attack on the Ansari state, almost destroying the Ansari state. What? This time Veronica, Yashur, and Yak all lost their composure and cried out in shock. That's impossible. Alvarez also lost his voice. I've already banished Julius. Exiled. Wu Yan raised his head. In other words, Prince Julius isn't dead? Only then did Alvarez realize what he had said. His face paled. Royal brother. Sylvia was dazed. He's really not dead. You bastard. Veronica abruptly stood up and walked in front of Alvard. She grabbed the Night King's collar and shouted loudly. Do you know that you're giving the royal knight family a chance to suffer heavy losses? Just the fact that the Dragon Slayer Julius was still alive was enough to cause a huge uproar in the Night Kingdom. If others were to find out that the Night Kingdom's king was biased and didn't execute his own son, allowing the Dragon Slayer to live in this world, the Night Kingdom might descend into chaos. The Cyphros Empire, which was dissatisfied with the Night Kingdom's ruling position and was eyeing the Night Kingdom covetously, could use this as a pretext to cause a heavy blow to the Night Kingdom. Everyone present could imagine what kind of crisis the Knight's country would face at that time. Alvarez was already in a state of confusion. I'm not condemning your actions, Your Majesty Night King. As a father, you are undoubtedly the greatest. Wu Yan stood up. However, as a king, you're not qualified to do so. Excuse me. Wu Yan turned around and walked out of the hall. Veronica left Ervard behind and walked out as well. Sylvia hurriedly brought Corset along as well. Only Yashur and Yak were left in the hall, not knowing what to do. Alvarez sat on the ground with a dazed expression. After a long while he sighed. Chapter 1399. Outside the hall in the hallway. Gulien stood there like a statue waiting for Veronica. As the captain of Veronica's personal guards, Gulien had to protect Veronica 24 hours a day. Even when Veronica was sleeping, Gulien had to stay close to her and pay attention to her surroundings at all times. Currently, the royal family was entertaining guests. Although Gulien didn't need to stand guard at this time, he still had to be on standby in case Veronica needed his help. Not long after, the doors to the hall opened, attracting Gulien's attention. Under Gulian's gaze, Wu Yan walked out of the hall. He didn't even look at Gulian as he walked forward. Sensing that something was wrong with the atmosphere, Gulian reflexively raised his vigilance. Then the door of the venue was opened again and Veronica, Sylvia and Corset walked out with very serious expressions. "Your Highness Veronica?" Gulian asked in confusion. Veronica shook her head at Gulian. She turned around and quickened her pace. She caught up to Wu Yan with Sylvia and Corset. "What's going on here?" Veronica asked straightforwardly. "Not only is Julius not dead, but he's also the mastermind behind the corpse dragon. Where did you get this information?" "What? Julius isn't dead? He's the mastermind behind the corpse dragon." Before Wu Yan could respond, Gulian's expression changed. Gulian's cold expression collapsed first, and his expression changed drastically. What are you talking about? How could Julius not be dead? How could he be the mastermind behind the corpse dragon?" "Sir Gulian, please calm down." Sylvia tried to calm Gulian down, but this only made him more agitated. "Stop joking. How could Julius?" "Calm down, Gulian." Veronica scolded. "I'm going to ask about it now. Are you trying to hinder me?" "Yes, I know I was wrong." Gulian took a deep breath and suppressed the emotions in his heart. However, he still stared at Wu Yan who was walking at the front. Obviously, he also wanted to know how the whole thing started. That was to be expected. Not only were Julius and Gulian good friends, they were also close friends who had gone through life and death together when they were students. Back then it was because Julius had been executed that Gulian had become so cold and emotionless. One could imagine how good their relationship was. It was no wonder that Gulian was so excited when he heard such news. Wu Yan only glanced at Gulian once before ignoring his gaze. As he walked he spoke in response. "I only said that Julius might be the mastermind behind the corpse ash dragon. I didn't say that Julius was the mastermind." "Really?" Veronica nodded subtly, her face tensed up. "Tell me in detail, royal elder sister." "Let me tell you." Sylvia pursed her lips. "Actually, the reason why Roland thought that the mastermind behind the corpse ash dragon was because of me." "Because of you?" Veronica turned to look at Sylvia. "What's going on?" "The mastermind behind the corpse ash dragon is called Mikhaos. I met him once." Sylvia lowered her head. Her pretty face changed a few times. "I don't know why, but that Mikhaos gave me a very familiar feeling. He gave me the same feeling as Royal Elder Brother. That's why I started to suspect that he might be Royal Elder Brother." "Feeling?" Gulian couldn't help but ask. "Just based on your feelings, how could that be?" "Just based on your feelings, you can't prove that Mikhaos is Julius." Wu Yan coldly interrupted Gulian. "But at least now we can prove that Julius isn't dead." "Not dead?" Gulian clenched his fists. "At the dinner party that guy admitted it himself. Back then he didn't execute Julius. Instead he exiled him." Veronica explained, gritting her teeth. "So that's how it is. That Mikhaos gave Sylvia a sense of familiarity and made her suspect that he was Julius. Then Sylvia told Lone about it and that's why Lone tried to get information out of that guy at the dinner party. Even though I'm a little sorry to the Night King, the current situation doesn't allow us to dilly-dally." Wu Yan confirmed Veronica's words and calmly explained. "The reason why Sylvia and I suspect that Julius isn't dead is because Mikhaos gave Sylvia a similar feeling to Julius. So, if we can prove that Julius isn't dead, then the possibility of Mikhaos being Julius is very high, right?" Veronica's tone became heavy. "It seems that before we find out Mikhaos' true identity, we can't let more people know about this. Compared to that, I'm more concerned about something else." Wu Yan suddenly changed the topic and looked at Sylvia. "Sylvia, do you still remember what Mikhaos said? There will be an even bigger feast in the near future." Sylvia nodded, causing Wu Yan to smirk coldly. "Then, if the Continental Congress is the stage, the feast that Mikhaos mentioned should be big enough, right?" "Wah." Sylvia, Veronica, Gulian, and Corset all sucked in a breath of cold air. "You're saying that Mikhaos, who might very well be Julius, will attack during the Continental Congress?" Veronica sneered and shook her head. "That's impossible. All of Loriaman's holy dragon knights have gathered in Fantion City. Even the Empire would have to think twice before attacking, let alone some corpse ash dragon. They wouldn't even be able to cause a stir." Veronica's tone was full of confidence when she said that. She silently affirmed the strength of Loriaman's holy dragon knights. Yet Wu Yan said that. Of course it won't be easy to attack from the outside, but what if they attack from the inside? From the inside. Veronica was stunned. Don't forget Mikao's is from the Empire. Wu Yan sighed. The Empire's airships should have entered Fantion City by now, right? Everyone understood what Wu Yan meant. If Mikao's managed to sneak into the airships of the Sepharo's Empire's representatives, then entering Fantion City would be a piece of cake. That's not right. Sylvia suddenly remembered. Even if the airships of other factions entered Fantion City, they would have to be checked before disembarking. It's impossible for anyone to sneak in. Sylvia, don't you understand what Lune is trying to say? The one who answered Sylvia wasn't Wu Yan, but the gloomy Veronica. What Lune is trying to say is that the Sepharo's Empire's representative might be the one who's shielding Mikao's and allowing him to control the corpse ash dragon to attack Fantion City from behind the scenes. This. Sylvia was speechless. As long as they are guards or attendants, the participants from the Sepharo's Empire will be able to openly bring Mikao's into Fantion City and let Mikao's attack. Veronica clenched her fists in hatred. Once the attack succeeds, it'll deal a heavy blow to the Chivalry Empire. Even if it fails, the Sepharo's Empire can use the excuse of betrayal as an excuse. Furthermore, if that person is Julius, they can even expose his identity and accuse the Chivalry Empire of being unfair. No matter what, it's a win-win situation. Then, Sylvia didn't know what to do. Then what should we do? Don't panic. This is just our guess after all. Wu Yan waved his hand, gesturing for Sylvia and Veronica to calm down. If this guess is correct, then the Empire's representative will probably bring a guard or follower to the masquerade ball tomorrow night. When that time comes, we just need to confirm if the guard or follower is Mikao's and we can come up with a plan. That's right. Veronica nodded solemnly. Apart from the representative and his guard and follower, the rest will not be allowed to step out of the airships under the Chivalry Empire's surveillance even if they're brought into Fantion City. Therefore, if Mikao's really wants to attack, someone will have to bring him out. Tomorrow's masquerade ball is a good opportunity. As Veronica's words fell, a sense of foreboding washed over everyone's hearts. It took a long time for them to calm down. Chapter 1400. Time quickly passed by as everyone was preoccupied with their own thoughts. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. As expected, the masquerade ball was about to be held. The masquerade ball, as the name suggested, was a ball where all the participants had to wear masks to attend. The purpose of holding the masquerade ball was to promote the relationship between the representatives of the various top forces before the Continental Conference. Every force was inextricably linked to other forces, but these relationships were not all good. Some forces had a very good relationship with each other, while others had a very bad relationship with each other. Take the Lorimon Kingdom as an example. The Shepron Kingdom was the sovereign state of the Lorimon Kingdom, so the relationship between the two was naturally very good. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were wearing the same pants. However, the relationship between the Lorimon Kingdom and the Sepharo's Empire was very bad. After all, the Shepron Kingdom and the Sepharo's Empire had fought before and killed each other. The Lorimon Kingdom was also a vassal state of the Shepron Kingdom and was the most indispensable fighting force of the Shepron Kingdom. The Night Kingdom that controlled the dragons was undoubtedly a thorn in the side of the Sepharo's Empire. The Sepharo's Empire wished that they could get rid of the Lorimon Kingdom. Without the Lorimon Kingdom, the Shepron Kingdom's strength would be greatly reduced and they would be wantonly invaded. The Lorimon Kingdom also wished that they could get rid of the Sepharo's Empire and protect their sovereign state, the Shepron Kingdom. They did not want the Sepharo's Empire's ambitions to succeed. Under such circumstances, how could the relationship between the three be good? And this way, once the Continental Conference was held, two or more forces that had a good relationship with each other would work together to make the content of the conference go towards a situation that was beneficial to them. This would be unfair. Considering this point, in order to let the participants eliminate the gap between the forces, the masquerade ball was held. Wearing a mask and hiding their identity, there would be no difference between the forces that they belonged to. Interacting with each other would be more or less beneficial for the upcoming Continental Conference. In other words, this masquerade ball was like a prelude to the Continental Conference. It could protect the real situation and also build a good relationship. The Continental Conference only allowed the representatives of the various forces to attend. At most, they could bring guards and attendants. But the masquerade ball was different. Anyone related to the leader's camp. Everyone was qualified to participate. Therefore, Wu Yan and the others concluded that if Mikaos really wanted to launch an attack from the inside during the Continental Congress, then the participants of the Sepharo's Empire would definitely bring Mikaos to this masquerade ball. At the end of the day, the various forces that came to Fantion City could enter Fantion City. However, for the sake of the safety of the participants of the Continental Conference and the various powers, and to prevent others from taking advantage of the situation, apart from the participants and their recognized guards and attendants, no one else was allowed to leave the airships of their respective powers. Based on this point alone, it was certain that Mikaos would participate in the masquerade ball with the participants from the Sepharo's Empire. Unless Mikaos didn't want to use the Continental Congress as a stage to attack. Instead, he wanted to attack the participants of the various forces. In that case, Mikaos might hide in the airship and not participate in the masquerade ball. He would wait until the Continental Congress officially started and then be led into the meeting place by the attendants. But this would create a contradiction. That was because the participants from the Sepharo's Empire were also among them. As a citizen of the Empire, Mikaos shouldn't have attacked the participants of the Continental Congress, right? In that case, regardless of whether Mikaos betrayed the Sepharo's Empire or not, the Sepharo's Empire would be jointly pressured by the other forces. Therefore, the only possibility was that Mikaos wanted to launch an attack before the Continental Congress. In other words, he wanted to launch an attack at the masquerade ball. After all, apart from participating in the masquerade ball, the participants didn't care about leaving the airships until the Continental Congress officially started. The Night Kingdom had the right to let them stay in their airships and not go out. Therefore, the masquerade ball was the only opportunity to move freely and launch an attack. Of course, all of this was based on the condition that Mikaos wanted to use the Continental Congress as a stage to realize the bigger banquet that he spoke of. If Mikaos didn't have any intention of launching an attack at the Continental Congress, then all of this would be directly shattered, causing Wu Yan and the others to worry for nothing. However, that also proved that nothing would happen during the Continental Congress. Therefore, this was still worth Wu Yan and the others to do. Fantion City, in a hall dedicated to the ball. The masquerade ball was held at the highest level of Fantion City. Fantion City was famous for its resolute and simple characteristics. Only this hall dedicated to the ball used the design style of the Shepherd Kingdom. The entire ballroom was grand and magnificent. Even the chandelier used Dragon Chi magnificent crystal as a power source. Once the incantation was chanted, the light would shine down, warming the heart like sunlight. At this moment, the vast ballroom was filled with people and the scene was quite lively. Everyone present was wearing a mask of different shapes, colors, and styles. However, all of them could only cover their noses and reveal their mouths and eyes. In addition to the orthodox masks that could only cover the eyes, there were also some strange headgear mixed in. The people wearing headgear all had outstanding features and were easily recognized. Therefore, they didn't hesitate to sacrifice their looks and dress up as clowns. The royal orchestra played a lively tune on the opposite side of the door to lighten the atmosphere. Couples of men and women held hands on the dance floor in the center of the ballroom and danced elegantly to the rhythm of the music. There were also people gathered around the bar, tables and sofas around the dance floor, chatting and laughing as they chatted with each other. Looking at the noble-looking gentlemen and ladies with masks covering their faces, Wu Yan is also wearing a tuxedo-like suit. Wearing a mask that looks like a pair of wings that can only cover the area around his eyes, Wu Yan is slowly moving around the venue. Beside Wu Yan was Sylvia. Her dazzling blonde hair was tied into a mature bun, with a dark red ribbon tied on top, reflecting the golden strands of her hair. She wore elbow-length gloves on her hands and a blue evening gown on her body. It was as dazzling as the surface of a lake in midsummer. The gown was tight around her waist, and the fluffy and wide skirt was very eye-catching. In fact, from the beginning, there were always some men who couldn't help but cast their gazes on Sylvia. The butterfly-shaped mask on Sylvia's face couldn't hide her temperament and beauty at all, and it had already made the hearts of many men restless. It was also because of this that Sylvia suppressed the shyness in her heart and held on to Wu Yan's arm like a noblewoman. In the eyes of outsiders they looked like a couple and dispelled the stirring hearts of many men. As for Wu Yan, his heart was also beating fast. Sylvia's figure was already explosive, and her breasts were extremely voluptuous. When she held onto his arm, it was like pressing his arm into the cleavage between those voluptuous breasts. The incomparably soft touch touched Wu Yan's nerves, causing Wu Yan to involuntarily recall the scene of Sylvia's seductive body and the kiss in the bathroom yesterday. For a moment his mouth became dry. Sylvia also seemed to be recalling the events of that day. Her heart was beating so fast that Wu Yan could clearly feel the frequency of her heartbeat through his arm that was in her embrace. If this continues, it won't be good. Feeling that he was becoming more and more unable to control his desire to take advantage of Sylvia, Wu Yan shifted his attention and asked softly, "Where's Veronica?" Royal sister didn't participate in the masquerade ball. Sylvia seemed to have been waiting for a long time and couldn't wait to respond. Royal sister usually doesn't participate in this type of ball. Why? Because. Sylvia stuttered as she explained. Royal sister. It's impossible for her to wear a dress. Hearing this, Wu Yan almost laughed out loud. Indeed, with Veronica's concept of armor as aesthetics, she would rather go on the battlefield and chop off the enemy's head than wear a dress to the ball. Among these people, there are participants from the Cypher's Empire and Mikao's. Sylvia solemnly looked around at all the masked people in the ballroom. Mikao's usually wears a mask and he has silver hair, it shouldn't be hard to recognize him. Wu Yan nodded just as he was about to speak. A figure appeared in his field of vision and blocked his words. That person's silver hair wearing a cold steel mask. Chapter 1401. In the middle of the ballroom, which was filled with lively music, two men walked in with steady steps. The man in front was dressed in a pure white luxurious outfit with golden trimmings. He had a head full of blonde hair and wore a mask that only covered his eyes. Every movement of his revealed an elegant temperament, just like a noble young master. The other man was someone Wu Yan and Sylvia had only met twice, but he was no stranger to them. His silver hair was tied into a ponytail that hung behind him. His fringe was dyed a bright red and he wore a silver mask on his face. His entire body was surrounded by a cold aura. Shockingly, it was Mikao's. Just as Wu Yan and the others expected, Mikatos had openly entered Vantian City and attended the masquerade ball. Even though it was only a guess, Mikatos wanted to use the continent's conference as a stage for the so-called greater banquet that he spoke of. It was highly likely to happen. A fine luster flowed through his wine-red eyes. Like a sniper rifle he aimed at Mikatos. Wu Yan's lips curled up. Looks like we don't need to search anymore. Don't need to search anymore? Sylvia was startled at first, but she soon realized something was amiss. Obviously, they were wearing masks and their identities were fully concealed, but the presence of the noble-looking man and Mikaos seemed to suppress all the representatives of the various forces present in the ballroom, causing the gazes of the people in the ballroom to stay on them. Their extremely strong sense of presence made the people around them involuntarily open up a path for them to pass. Moreover, at the end of the road, it was unknown whether it was a coincidence or intentional. Wu Yan and Sylvia happened to be there. Thus, the scene of Mikatos walking towards Wu Yan and Sylvia became the focal point of the entire scene, attracting everyone's attention. Everyone here was a representative of one of the few major factions in Aluxtran. Apart from the guards and attendants, everyone else was at least a noble. Thus, they keenly sensed the change in the atmosphere. Everyone's gazes were focused on this side, and their eyes were filled with interest. As mentioned before, the masquerade ball was the prelude to the continent's conference. For the people here, the clash between the two factions would more or less give them some idea of the situation. However, they never would have thought that this prelude to the war wouldn't have any effect. No matter how they talked, Mikatos was destined to stand on the opposite side of the chivalric kingdom. Oh. The noble-looking man who was talking to Mikatos only noticed the two people in front of him now. He turned his head and looked over. He had a perfect smile on his face. For a moment I thought I saw a goddess. The noble-looking man said in an exaggerated yet polite tone. He then quickened his steps and walked towards Wu Yan and Sylvia. However, he ignored Wu Yan who was holding Sylvia's hand. He placed one hand on his left chest and bowed to Sylvia. Isn't this the fourth princess of the chivalric kingdom, Her Highness Sylvia? Hearing this, Sylvia's heart tightened. She was already wearing a mask. Was she still recognized? Although you're wearing a mask, your unique aura isn't something a mere mask can hide. The noble-looking man smiled elegantly as if he saw through Sylvia's thoughts. However, this is a masquerade ball after all. Let's put aside the constraints of our identities and have a friendly chat. You're right. Sylvia suppressed the nervousness in her heart. She lightly nodded her head as if she agreed with the noble young master's words, but she also lightly returned the other party's compliment. To be able to have a friendly chat with the current head of the Withausen family, Sir Klaus, one of the most famous nobles in the Sephar's empire. I'm deeply honored. Oh my, so I was still seen through. The noble-looking man called Klaus shrugged helplessly. The smile on his face didn't change at all. It was clear that Klaus didn't intend to hide his identity. Then, Klaus turned his head and looked at Wu Yan. And this is me. Wu Yan turned around and met Klaus' gaze. He grinned at Klaus with a meaningful smile. Mikatas and I are old friends. Old friends? This time Klaus didn't expect Wu Yan's answer. He was stunned for a moment. Indeed, Sir Lun and I are old acquaintances. Mikaves raised his head from behind Klaus and said emotionlessly. Long time no see, Sir Lun. It has indeed been a while. Wu Yan smiled faintly. I've missed you, Sir Mikatas. What a coincidence, I have the same feeling too. Although Makawos said so, his tone was filled with coldness, causing the temperature in the surrounding air to drop a little. At this moment, Wu Yan and Makawos only have eyes for each other. One has a leisurely smile on his face while the other has a cold expression on his face. They don't look like they're old acquaintances at all. Instead, they look like they're arch nemeses, giving people the feeling that the situation could take a turn for the worse at any moment. I believe that even if Wu Yan and Makawos started fighting in the next second, no one here would be surprised. As though sensing the brewing storm, Klaus took a step forward as though he had put an end to the confrontation between the two of them and smoothed things over with a smile. I didn't expect the two of you to be old friends. What a surprise. I am the one who is surprised. Wu Yan grinned as if he's hinting at something. Sir Klaus, my friend's character isn't that good. He seems to be your follower. Please protect him and don't let him get into trouble. Hearing this, Mikaves lowered his head, hiding the change in his gaze. Klaus' eyes flashed with a strange light, but the smile on his face didn't change. I'm very satisfied with my follower. I know what I'm doing. Please don't worry, sir. Good. Wu Yan shrugged and held the silent Sylvia's hand. Well then, we'll be taking our leave. Please enjoy your time. Klaus didn't ask him to stay. Instead, he gave him a polite greeting. Then Wu Yan and Sylvia went into the crowd. Oh, my good friend. Klaus chuckled as he looked at the direction Wu Yan disappeared in. That person isn't simple, yes. Mikatas's eyes flickered with an unknown light. He's a very troublesome person. What's wrong? Klaus asked without turning his head. Will I get in the way? It's fine. Mikatas replied coldly. Anyway, the plan is about to start. Hearing this, Klaus smiled. You're right. What should we do? Sylvia spoke as soon as they left Klaus and Mikatas' sight. Now that we've confirmed that Mikaves has entered Fantion City, or even Fantion City if he launches an attack now, don't worry. Wu Yan tightened his grip on Sylvia's hand. Even though we can confirm that Mikatas has appeared, we can't be sure that he'll attack. Maybe he's only here as a follower? That's impossible. Sylvia retorted. Mikatas knows that his identity has been exposed, but he still took the risk to enter Fantion City. This is premeditated. That's why we lack evidence. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes. We lack evidence to prosecute him. Lord Roland. Your Highness. A slightly anxious voice entered Wu Yan and Sylvia's ears. Wu Yan and Sylvia turned their heads at the same time. They saw Corset anxiously running towards them. What's wrong? Wu Yan had a bad premonition when he saw Corset's anxious expression. Corset's next words confirmed Wu Yan's premonition. Not good. Lord Yashur and Aichen are missing. Chapter 1402. Fantion City inside the airship of the Cyphros Empire. In a vast space at the rear of the airship, there was a very strange instrument. It looked like the tail or head of a ferocious beast. It was beautifully decorated as if it had been plated with real gold. It emitted a dazzling halo. Although its appearance was strange, there was a transparent round cover in the center of the device, allowing people to see the situation inside. It was like a cockpit but more like a capsule. There were cables hanging from the bottom, connected to some mechanical devices with screens installed on the ground. The instrument was very large, more than enough to fit an adult dragon. The side of the instrument was inlaid with countless sparkling crystals. These crystals were all dragon chi crystals. The instrument was inlaid with dragon chi crystals? Wasn't that the element that a product born from magical engineering should have? This enormous instrument was none other than a Magitech instrument. Near the magical instrument, several people in white overcoats, who looked like researchers, were leading about 10 technicians in work clothes. They were observing the instrument's movements while burying their heads in the instruments with screens, constantly operating something. As the magical instrument operated, buzzing sounds could be heard. The 1,000-year chi crystals inlaid on the instrument's body were sparkling, causing the air to ripple with dense magic power. If one looked closely, they would discover that in the capsule of the magical instrument, a petite girl and a naked boy were hugging each other like conjoined twins. Their eyes were closed and they were moving up and down. The boy and girl were the missing Yashu and Yak. At the front of the magical instrument, a dark-skinned petite girl and an old man in a white coat stood together. They stared at Yashu and Yak in the capsule with different expressions. The dark-skinned petite girl's expression changed slightly as if she was disgusted, but also as if she was trembling. Clearly she was disgusted by the instrument, or rather by the matter of Yashu and Yak being thrown into the instrument. She was disgusted. The old man's expression was calm, or rather cold and emotionless. It was as if the two in the instrument weren't living beings, but two pieces of meat. It made one shudder. Looking at Yaksu and Yak in the capsule, Anya's expression kept changing. In the end he asked, "May I ask, why did you call me Yashu? Will Blake and the young dragon Acker be thrown into this machine?" "Oh?" The doctor seemed to be surprised that Anya would ask such a question, but he still answered truthfully. "This is Mykavez's idea." "Sir Mikhail's?" Anya clenched her fists. "What's your goal?" "To awaken the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family." The doctor did not hide anything. His wrinkled eyes twitched and his eyes flashed with shrewdness. "It said that in ancient times there was a great number of people. Actually, all dragons will transform into holy dragons." "All dragons will transform into holy dragons?" Anya was extremely surprised. The dragon clan has a long history. Now they have fallen to the point where they need to rely on humans to survive. However, in ancient times the dragon clan was the overlord of the continent. If they didn't reach this level, how could they dominate the entire continent? The doctor explained in a realistic manner. The reason why the dragons of the dragon clan can transform into holy dragons is all because of this machine. After that, the doctor's gaze fell on the instrument again. According to Mykavez, this machine can't be transformed into a holy dragon royal family. It can be used on those dragons that can't transform into holy dragons after they mature. It can forcefully transform them into holy dragons. Anya looked at the instrument as well. Then if it's used on the young dragon Acker, that means, yes. The doctor's eyes were filled with fervor. "We plan to use that effect to forcefully awaken the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family and return to their original dragon form." Anya's heart clenched and she asked with a trembling voice, "What about Yaksu? What about Blake?" "He is the knight chosen by the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. He is the master of the Dragon Queen." The doctor answered expressionlessly. "If he's gone, even if the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor awakens, he will quickly die without the star essence. Then this experiment will be meaningless." "You mean?" Ania's pretty face turned pale in an instant. "That's right." The doctor smiled coldly. "Use the machine's effect and the magic power in the Millennium Chi Hua crystal. When the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family awakens, forcefully merge it into the body of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor. Then Blake will become an organ that exists solely to provide star essence." Woo! All of a sudden the instrument trembled violently. Its entire body was suffused with red light and electric arcs, and an alarm-like echo rang out. What's going on? The doctor and Anya were both shocked. As soon as the doctor's voice fell, the panicked voices of the staff below also sounded. There's an abnormal reaction. The magic power detector is displaying abnormal values. An unknown magic reaction has been detected. It's increasing in intensity. The machine has lost control. It's refusing to accept the emergency stop signal. The situation is critical. Wah! The doctor's face turned pale. Woo! The entire space began to tremble as if it was on fire. The temperature in the air continued to rise, and the machine's condition became more and more abnormal, causing the atmosphere of panic to spread. Everyone's anxiety was written all over their faces as they desperately operated the machine. The atmosphere became incomparably dangerous. How can this be? The doctor's face became more and more unsightly. What's going on? Anya's face tensed up. Dong dong. At this moment, a heartbeat-like sound rang in someone's mind from the machine. It turned into a ripple and fluctuated. Just now, Anya and the doctor were both stunned. In the next moment, the vibrating machine became silent. Bang! With a loud explosion, the entire machine exploded, and bright red flames began to burn in the entire space without warning. Wah! The staff began to flee in panic. Don't panic. Calm down. The doctor yelled, but no one listened to him. Weng! A dazzling brilliance suddenly rose from the center of the sea of fire, like a pillar of light shooting up, directly melting the ceiling of the airship and rising into the sky. In the pillar of light, Yashur and Yak still had their eyes closed, hugging each other as they floated in the dazzling pillar of light. Everyone present could clearly see that at this moment, Aika's body was fluctuating with a dense wave of magic power. That magic power was at least 10 times stronger than any dragon in the world. On Yashur's body, a snake-shaped star carving was engraved all over his arm, and it flashed with a blazing red light. Not long after, Yashio and Yak seemed to have dissipated. Their bodies emitted stardust-like light and turned into starlight particles, disappearing without a trace. Anya stared blankly at this scene, muttering as if she was dreaming. They disappeared. Weng! At the same time, everyone in Fantion City saw a pillar of light suddenly shoot into the sky from the airship of the Cyphros Empire. It didn't take long for it to connect to the dark night sky. What is that? Everyone in Fantion City was stunned. Within the pillar of light, an exquisite geometrical pattern abruptly emerged. It was as if it was engraved in space. It was also like a pair of wings that slowly spread out. Immediately, 2 hollow ring-shaped magic arrays with the pattern as the center slid to the sides. Not long after, they formed an oval-shaped luminous object. The originally dazzling full moon dimmed under the illumination of the mysterious glowing object. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the mysterious glowing object's appearance was extremely similar to an egg. Yes, it was an egg. An exquisite geometric pattern was engraved on the egg, emitting intense light like the sun. The pattern was identical to the star carving that covered Yasha's entire arm. Pairs of wings spread out around the egg, surrounded by 2 ring-shaped magic circles. Blinding light rose. In the sky, an egg covered in 2 ring-shaped magic circles and surrounded by angel-like wings was imprinted in the eyes of everyone in Fenshin City. The egg was glowing brightly and had 2 ring-shaped magic circles on it. The egg was surrounded by angel-like wings. It was imprinted in the eyes of everyone in Fenshin City. The calm before the storm descended upon the world. Chapter 1403. What is that? In the ballroom where the masquerade ball was held, the beautiful palace music and the nobles' joyful laughter seemed to have been cut off. Everyone in the ballroom gathered on the balcony where they could clearly see the outside. They were all dumbfounded as they stared at the gigantic winged egg in the sky. It's so beautiful. Sylvia stared blankly at the glowing object floating in the sky. She unconsciously let go of Wu Yan's arm and immersed herself in the beautiful scene. Sylvia wasn't the only one. Almost everyone in the ballroom had an intoxicated look in their eyes. They were all attracted to the glowing object. Wu Yan was the only one who stared at the egg in the sky. His expression became more and more serious. Inside the glowing egg, Wu Yan sensed a magic power not inferior to that of the old generation vampires in blood frenzy. He also sensed a familiar presence. Yashu. Yak. Wu Yan clenched his teeth. It can't be. Look. Dragons. In the ballroom, a nobleman with sharp eyes suddenly exclaimed and pointed to the distant horizon, causing everyone present to look up at him. Holy dragons equipped with riding equipment flew over from all directions in Fantion City. They were enveloped in magic power and looked like glowing stars. They all flew toward the egg in the sky. What's wrong with the holy dragons? Sylvia asked anxiously. However, no one could answer her question. Holy dragons appeared one after another. They soared into the sky and gathered around the egg. Usually, there were very few holy dragons, but now there were so many of them that they could be compared to a group of ordinary dragons. There were more than 100 of them. Moreover, these holy dragons were all equipped with riding equipment. This proved that they all had a master. Furthermore, these holy dragons were all holy dragons. They were most likely holy dragons from Lorea's Holy Dragon Knights. Only Lorea's Holy Dragon Knights could have so many holy dragons. However, they were only able to see the holy dragon but not the riders of the holy dragon. What the hell was going on? Ah! At some point Sylvia cried out in surprise. Lancelot. In the sky. Lancelot was one of the holy dragons that were gathering towards the giant egg. Lancelot. Where do you plan to go? Sylvia shouted and even started chanting a summoning spell. Unfortunately, Lancelot did not appear at all when the incantation was cast. Lancelot. Sylvia's face paled. Lancelot actually disobeyed my orders. Lancelot disobeyed your orders. Wu Yan flinched at first. Then his eyes narrowed. Don't tell me those holy dragons all disobeyed their master's orders. That's why there are no riders. Sylvia's expression changed when she heard that. The holy dragons disobeyed their master's orders? This isn't a joke. If the holy dragons in Loriaman's Holy Dragon Knights all disobeyed their master's orders, then without the help of the dragon tribe Loriaman's Holy Dragon Knights would be crippled. At this moment, if other forces were to attack Loriaman's Night Kingdom, then without the dragon tribe's power, Loriaman's Night Kingdom could only be considered a small kingdom. It would definitely be destroyed overnight. The situation wasn't optimistic. What the hell is going on? Sylvia's delicate body trembled when she thought of the consequences. Why did the dragon tribe suddenly lose control? What's going on with that egg? I'm not sure about the details. Wu Yan cast his gaze towards the giant egg in the sky and the groups surrounding it. The holy dragons that were circling in an orderly manner as if they were worshipping the dragon tribe. What I can be sure of is that the situation is troublesome. While speaking, in the sky the glowing egg also began to change. Silver feathers floated down from the wings surrounding the egg. Like white snow they adorned Fantion City like a dream. Then on the surface of the huge egg a cautious sound was heard. At the same time, a crack appeared on the surface of the huge egg. Everyone in Fantion City felt their hearts skip a beat when they saw this. Kacha kacha kacha. In the next moment cracking sounds echoed in the night sky, clearly entering everyone's ears. Following the cracking sounds, the egg cracked open at a speed visible to the naked eye. Pop. In the end, the beautiful winged egg shattered. Bzz. A blinding flash spread out like an explosion, covering the entire city of Fantion. The dazzling light made everyone in Fantion City shriek and close their eyes. Sylvia, who couldn't stand the dazzling light, did the same. When she opened her eyes again and looked up at the sky, her beautiful face was filled with disbelief. The huge winged egg had already disappeared. In its place was a dragon. A dragon that was over 100 times larger than the largest holy dragon and even larger than an airship. It had pink fur, bright red eyes, and a triangular horn on its head. 2 horns were on the left and right sides of its head, and 1 horn was in the middle of its head. It was like the horn of a unicorn standing straight up. The dragon's body looked like it was covered in ice-cold armor. Its body was filled with power. Its wings were different from ordinary dragons. They were more like feathers than wings. Like an angel, there were 2 pairs of wings with 4 wings. Everyone in Fantion City was stupefied when they saw the dragon in the sky that looked like it could support heaven and earth. What was that? Roar, 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 roar. As if it had heard someone's question, the giant dragon opened its bright red eyes. A loud roar that was enough to disperse the clouds in the sky rubbed against the air and turned into a storm-like airwave that shook the entire night sky. At the same time the dragon roared, a naked person slowly emerged from the dragon's body in the middle of the three horns that formed a triangle above its head. One of his hands and lower body was buried in the dragon's body. Only his upper body and an arm with a strange pattern of a snake were exposed to the air. His eyes were tightly shut and he looked like Jesus who had been nailed to the cross. It was creepy. Sylvia's eyes widened in shock when she saw this person. Yashur. Yashur. Wu Yan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. If Yashur showed up there, then what about Yak? That dragon. Wu Yan stared at the roaring dragon. Could it be Yak? While Wu Yan was thinking about this, the dragon descended from the sky and stomped on the ground with a powerful stomp. Boom! Following the sound of an explosion, the Cyphros Empire's airship was trampled into two by the dragon's foot and exploded into pieces. What is going on? In the crowd, Klaus pretended to step forward and exclaimed in surprise. The Chivalry Nation's dragon actually destroyed the most advanced airship that our nation is proud of. Hearing Klaus's words, the people present finally reacted and began to make a ruckus. The Chivalry Nation's dragon destroyed the Cyphros Empire's airship? Are they trying to start a war? Nonsense. Sylvia tore off her mask angrily and pointed at Klaus. Are you slandering our Chivalry Nation? Your Highness Sylvia, your words are not convincing at all. Klaus shook his head in grief. Everyone here saw it with their own eyes. The Chivalry Nation's dragon personally destroyed our airship. Isn't that the truth? You. Sylvia clenched her fists but couldn't find any words to refute. She was so anxious that she was going in circles. The dragon tribe only contracted with the Chivalry Nation's people and only the Chivalry Nation's people had the right to control the dragon tribe. So far, the only exception was the Chivalry Nation's people and it was specially arranged by the dragon mother. Under such circumstances, the Chivalry Nation's responsibility should be pinned on the dragon tribe. It was also because they understood this that the scene was so noisy. Sylvia was also speechless. If this continued, the Cyphros Empire could use this as an excuse to make a fuss and make the Chivalry Nation suffer. The Chivalry Nation of Lorimon was in a difficult position. Klaus's lips curled up imperceptibly but it didn't last long before it was mercilessly dispelled by a voice. I don't think so. Chapter 1404. I don't think so, right? Wu Yan patted Sylvia's shoulder and pulled her behind him. He looked at Klaus whose smile froze on his face and sighed. Sir Klaus, you said it yourself. Everyone here saw it with their own eyes. Wu Yan raised his voice and pointed at the dragon that was destroying the Cyphros Empire's airship. That giant dragon came out from that giant egg, but that giant egg came out from that pillar of light at the beginning. Everyone should have seen that the pillar of light came from the Cyphros Empire's airship, right? Wu Yan shrugged at this point. It's actually a dragon from our Chivalry Empire. Then why did it come out from the Cyphros Empire's airship? Everyone present looked at each other in dismay. Sir Loon, could it be that you think that dragon belongs to our Cyphros Empire? A dark glint flashed through Klaus' eyes. He then gave Wu Yan a fake smile. If we can get the protection of the dragon tribe, then it's fine if that airship is destroyed. No, the Cyphros Empire can't get the protection of the dragon tribe. Wu Yan ignored Klaus's ugly expression and casually threw out such a sentence. However, the Cyphros Empire's magical engineering is the best in the entire continent. There should be many strange magical tools that we don't know about, right? For example, Wu Yan had a casual smile on his face. A magical tool that can temporarily control a dragon or make a dragon go crazy. What do you mean? The smile on Klaus's face disappeared. Are you saying that our Cyphros Empire will use magic tools to control a dragon to attack our own airships? Who knows? Wu Yan replied casually. Otherwise, Sir Klaus, please explain why that dragon appeared from the light pillar shot out from the Cyphros Empire's airship and why it only destroyed the Cyphros Empire's airship. Why is it not interested in the other airships at all? Hearing this, everyone also looked outside. Indeed, after the dragon destroyed the Cyphros Empire's airship, it had no desire to destroy the neighboring airships. It flew straight into the sky and roared as if it was venting something. This time it was Klaus's turn to be in a dilemma. Roar. The dragon suddenly roared again. It turned its head and stared at the direction of Fantion City like a ferocious beast. The dragon is looking over. Is it coming? Run. Everyone who was admiring the dragon's appearance a moment ago panicked. They all screamed as they fled out of the door, including Klaus, who seized the opportunity to escape. Not long after the ballroom, only Wu Yan and Sylvia were left. Sylvia also seemed to be afraid. She took a few steps back and grabbed Wu Yan's hand. Roland, don't worry. Wu Yan patted Sylvia's hand. His gaze shot to the front of the ballroom like an arrow. The culprit hasn't run away yet. How can we leave? Sylvia paused for a moment. Then she seemed to have thought of something. Her face tensed up and she turned her head to look at the center of the ballroom. There, a silver-haired man wearing a silver mask stood straight. He looked at the dragon outside and lowered his head. An extremely sinister aura emanated from his body. Mikovez, Sylvia shouted in agitation. So it was you who did this. I can't think of anyone else other than him. Wu Yan sneered. Mikovez, is this the greater feast you were talking about? Mikovez raised his head. He turned around to face Wu Yan and Sylvia. When Wu Yan and Sylvia saw Mikovez's face that was hidden under his bangs, their pupils shrank. In the eye sockets of Mikovez's cold mask, the pair of clear eyes disappeared and turned into a pair of ferocious beast eyes. They were a pair of dragon-like eyes. You. Sylvia was shocked. Wu Yan took a step forward and stood in front of Sylvia. He looked at Mikovez coldly. Who are you? He. Mikovez changed his usual ice-cold appearance and let out an extremely sinister laugh. The temperament of his body also completely changed. He became eerie and sinister. My name is Mordred. Mordred? Wu Yan frowned. Mordred? Sylvia yelled angrily as if she couldn't believe her own ears. Impossible. You can't be Mordred. Sylvia. Wu Yan asked when he saw how excited Sylvia was. His gaze was still fixed on Mikovez. Who is Mordred? Mordred. Sylvia bit her lower lip. It's my brother Julius Fall. Your brother's Fall? Wu Yan's frown deepened. But didn't your brother's Fall get killed by him? He was indeed killed. Mikovez, no, it should be Mordred, sneered. But the one who died was another spirit. Sylvia tilted her head in confusion. Wu Yan was also confused for a bit before he exclaimed in surprise. Dual personality. More like two spirits. Mordred laughed maliciously. The other spirit knew of my existence. That's why it colluded with Julius to kill me. Why? Sylvia couldn't help but stand up. Why does my brother want to kill you? Why? Mordred closed its eyes. When it opened them again, its ferocious eyes glinted coldly. Because I will change the fate of the dragons. Ha! Sylvia didn't understand what was going on. Why do dragons have to compromise and become slaves to humans? Is it because they don't have enough astral essence? Mordred clenched its fists, its expression becoming even more sinister. That's a joke. If that's the case, why don't you just eat humans as food? Anyway, eating food with star essence can give you the star essence, right? Wah. Sylvia's scalp tingled. I see. Wu Yan understood. It's because you have such dangerous thoughts that Julius wants to kill you. Am I right? Correct. Correct. Mordred snorted. He knows that my existence will bring disaster to this world. That's why he wants to kill me. That's unnecessary. Wu Yan snorted. You want to change the way dragons live with just one dragon? What a joke. Is that so? Mordred's lips curled into a devilish smile. Then what if this dragon is one of the two main bloodlines of the Sage Dragon King, Impoke, the last descendant of the Nihilenia Underworld Dragon King? The Nihilenia Underworld Dragon King? Sylvia was stunned. You. Wu Yan finally understood what's going on. You're the last descendant of the Nihilenia Underworld Dragon King. Ah. Mordred laughed loudly. That's right, I am one of the two main bloodlines of the dragons that have fought against the sacred dragons of Avalon for generations. the rightful successor of the Nihilinia underworld dragon king. The dragon's royal family. Sylvia's face was drained of blood. If Mordred was truly one of the two great royal bloodlines of the dragon race, then with his identity as the underworld dragon king, as long as he defeated Yak, ruling the entire dragon race in the future would not be a dream. He would definitely be able to make the entire dragon race treat humans as pure food to replenish their star essence. When that time comes, the lives of humans will be like hell. Julius tried to kill me, but I was one step ahead of him. I transformed into a spirit body and possessed his body. That was how I managed to escape. Mordred once again revealed a shocking fact, causing Sylvia's delicate body to tremble. Possessed. In other words, this body is Julius's. Mordred smiled evilly. Then he looked at the night sky outside and fixed his gaze on the giant dragon. But now I will soon have a better body. This body is no longer needed. After saying that, Mordred's body surged with a shocking dark aura, turning into a cloud of black mist and shooting out like a stream of light. His target was the roaring dragon under the night sky. Chapter 1405. Roar. Floating in the air, the giant dragon with two pairs of angel wings suddenly roared, and a look of pain appeared in its pair of red eyes. Ah! At the same time, Yashu, who was naked and unconscious like a crucified Jesus, also let out a painful howl. His body twisted and turned as if he was struggling. The star carving on his left hand flickered like a light bulb before it was extinguished, emitting a dark and evil aura. As the dragon and Yashur cried out in pain together, a dark mist suddenly shot out and arrived in front of the dragon in an instant. It followed the dragon's wide-open mouth due to its painful roar and drilled into the dragon's mouth bit by bit like sewage. Roar. The gigantic dragon and Yasha's pained howls echoed in the sky above Fantion City. Then a strange phenomenon occurred. The armor-like fur on the gigantic dragon's body gradually changed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Traces of black filth seemed to be devouring something as it slowly spread across the dragon's body. Before long, the dragon's entire body turned black. Even its two pairs of wings were pitch black like a crow's wings. The unicorn-like horn on the dragon's triangular head completely disappeared. The two dragon horns on the left and right slowly twisted into a spiral shape. Finally, 9 eyes appeared on the dragon's head, releasing a ferocious red light. Its gigantic body was no longer as majestic as before. It emitted a terrifying demonic aura. In the night sky above Fantion City, a pitch-black demonic dragon roared at the sky. It was like a demon god from hell had descended between heaven and earth. However, when such a demon descended, the holy dragons that were worshipping the gigantic dragon all stopped what they were doing. It was as if they wanted to surround it. They formed an encirclement and mobilized the magic power in their bodies. A hostile roar resounded through the night sky. For a moment, the atmosphere above Fantion City became tense. This time, the black dragon's roar was filled with anger. Obviously, the holy dragons planned to rebel against it. Both the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family and the Nihilinia Underworld Dragon King family had the right to rule over the dragon tribe. However, the holy dragons had disobeyed their master's orders when Yak had awakened and offered their loyalty to the awakened Holy Dragon Emperor. Instead, when the Underworld Dragon King reappeared in the world, they had raised the horn of rebellion. Wasn't this telling Mordred that the dragons only recognized Yak as their king, the peak of the dragon race? Roar. Immediately, Mordred became even angrier. Pitch-black magic power also emerged from his body. A civil war within the dragon clan was about to break out. In the ballroom, Wu Yan looked at the gigantic dragon that had transformed into a pitch-black demon in the night sky and snorted coldly. Looks like Mordred has taken Yak's body. Yak. Sylvia hugged the unconscious Julius' body, her face full of bewilderment. You're saying that the dragon is Aiko? Yashur was right on top of the dragon's head, and when the dragon appeared, it was very powerful. The holy dragons also disobeyed their master's orders and gathered around the dragon, as if they were worshipping their king. Wu Yan looked at Sylvia. A king that could be worshipped by all the dragons, other than Yak, the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. I can't think of any other possibility. Now it's not Yak anymore. It's Mordred. In Sylvia's arms, a weak voice replied to Wu Yan. Mordred's original body was lost because of me. Now it has taken the body of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family. Soon, it will be able to completely revive as the strongest dragon king in the world. When that time comes, Mordred will rule over the dragon race and prey on humans like livestock. Humans will be in big trouble. Royal brother. Hearing the familiar voice, Sylvia looked down and saw Julius clutching his head. His expression was pained but his eyes were clear. She cried out in surprise. Is it you? Royal brother. Long time no see, Sylvia. Julius squeezed out a smile and struggled out of Sylvia's arms to stand up. However, there's no time for us to catch up. We have to hurry and expel Mordred from Princess Yak's body. Do you have any ideas? Wu Yan didn't waste any more time and walked up to Julius. Mordred used to be your foal, and you once shared a body with Mordred. You should know something, shouldn't you? I can share Mordred's memories. Julius nodded and turned his gaze towards Mordred, who was facing off against the holy dragons. To be more precise, he turned towards Yashur, who had fainted above Mordred's head. Julius bit his lips. If Princess Avalon's rider is also here with his connection with Yak, it's not impossible to chase Mordred out of Yak's body. But now? Julius revealed a troubled expression. Even Yashur has been reduced to a mere tool to provide star essence, and has lost his consciousness. Princess Avalon, whose life is connected to his, must not be in a better state. She has no way of resisting Mordred. In other words, Wu Yan turned to face Mordred. The only way now is to defeat Mordred, right? That's one way, but the opponent is the strongest king of the dragon race. Julius smiled bitterly. Although both the Sacred Dragon Emperor and the Underworld Dragon King need to fuse with the incarnation of the Dragon Seed memory, and obtain extraordinary wisdom before they can obtain true power, the dragons are already fighting on their own to resist the Underworld Dragon King. If they don't listen to their liege's orders, there's no way humans can defeat the Underworld Dragon King. Is that so? Wu Yan smiled. Looking at Mordred, who was in a standoff with the dragons in the night sky, Wu Yan's wine-red eyes flashed with system perception. Mordred, level 79. Impossible to defeat? With a sound as smooth as flowing water, Wu Yan walked towards the balcony. On the back of his hand, the star carving suddenly emitted a dazzling light, carrying with it a wave of mana that soared into the sky. Like a storm, it swept out and blew towards Julius and Sylvia. Sylvia raised her hand to block the incoming gale, but the corners of her mouth curled up in a long-awaited arc. Julius, on the other hand, was shocked. Magic? How could a human use magic power without the help of the dragon chi crystals and the paladin armor? Furthermore, it was such a powerful magic power. How is this possible? Even if the Holy Dragon Emperor and the Underworld Dragon King have obtained their full power, I don't think they can't be defeated. With that, a pillar of light shot into the sky. Wu Yan's magic exploded. In the next moment, a blood-red mist rose from his body. Descend. Black Dragon's lightning trap. In the dimly lit ballroom, cracks started to spread across the space that was shrouded in bloody mist. Beep beep beep. It was as black as Mordred's fur, but it didn't have an evil aura. Pitch-black lightning suddenly flashed from the cracks in space, accompanied by the sound of electricity. Within the cracks in space, a scarlet eye slowly opened. An extreme pressure descended upon the world. Feeling the terrifying pressure that almost crushed his bones, Julius' heart began to tremble. What is that? Lightning? Black lightning? Even Sylvia was at a loss. Isn't it white flames? Under the watchful eyes of Sylvia and Julius, the space filled with cracks suddenly trembled and shattered like glass. A pitch-black shadow flew out from the cracked space, turning into a black stream of light, shooting towards Mordred in the night sky. Wu Yan disappeared from where he stood. Chapter 1406. Fantion City. In the hallway leading to the ballroom on the top floor. The sound of metal boots clacking against the ground could be heard. One could clearly feel the anxiety in the owner's heart. Veronica brought someone with her and quickly walked to the ballroom. It had to be said that Veronica had miscalculated. Because of her suspicions about Macawos, Veronica had been on guard throughout the entire city of Fantion during the ball. She also sent more people to patrol the city, keeping a close eye on the airships of the Sepharos Empire and other forces, in an attempt to eliminate any possible attacks. However, Veronica didn't expect that the ones who caused the commotion in the end would be the dragons that belonged to the Chivalry Nation. It was completely unexpected. This was truly unexpected. The dragons were no longer under the control of their masters. The holy dragons of the Lorimon Holy Dragon Knights were also out of control. They no longer listened to their master's orders. At this moment, the holy dragon knights that the Chivalry Nation was so proud of were completely useless. This was the weakness of the Chivalry Nation of Lorimon. They relied too much on the dragons. Without the dragons' power, the Chivalry Nation's strength had severely decreased to below that of a nation. If the enemy forces were to launch a large-scale invasion at this time, the Night Kingdom would most likely be destroyed overnight. This made Veronica's expression extremely ugly throughout the whole process. Even so, Veronica had to go to the ballroom first to protect the guests from the top factions of the continent. If the representatives of the top factions of the continent were to die at the hands of the dragons, the Chivalry Nation would be wanted and attacked by the entire continent tomorrow. At that time, the Chivalry Nation would truly be finished. Therefore, even if it was for the sake of the Chivalry Nation, Veronica couldn't go to Fantion City first to disperse the citizens. She had to come personally to protect those important people. Besides, right now only someone like Veronica who could display extraordinary combat strength without relying on the Dragon Clan, had the ability to protect those people. As for Zhou Xian, you still haven't regained contact with your pull? Yes. Yes. Zhou Xian, who was also wearing a suit of armor but had lost his holy knight armor, took a deep breath. It completely ignored my summons and refused to accept my request to offer the holy knight armor. The rest of the Dragon Knights in Lorimon's Holy Dragon Knights are the same. Even Captain Yujira's Galahad has lost contact. Currently, the Holy Dragons seem to have gathered in the sky above Fantion City. Must have something to do with that unknown dragon. Even Ursula. Veronica clenched her teeth. In this way, the entire Lorimon's Holy Dragon Knights have disintegrated. Without the protection of the Dragon Clan, this country, wouldn't it be taken down in one night? This subordinate is ashamed of his incompetence. Zhou Xian lowered his head. Without fall and the Holy Knight armor, Zhou Xian was only slightly stronger than the average person. Even an earth dragon, pterosaur or water dragon could easily defeat him. Under such circumstances, there was no way he could take on the responsibility of being the captain of Veronica's personal guards, protect Veronica and solve her problems. Even acting as a combat force was a problem. This was the first time Zhou Xian realized how insignificant he was. There's no time for you to mourn and complain. While Zhou Xian was unwilling to give up, Veronica still said such a ruthless sentence. Right now, the most important thing is to protect the important people in Fantion City. One mistake and the knighthood is done for. If you want to mourn and complain, you can do so after this is over. Zhou Xian's expression turned serious. Understood. While they were talking, Veronica and Zhou Xian arrived at the ballroom. Because of the fight between Ai Ku and Mordred, the magic power of the dragon glory crystals that were used as lighting in the ballroom was affected and lost its effect. The place was pitch black and it was hard to see what was going on inside. However, Veronica and Zhou Xian were no ordinary people. They easily saw two figures in the dark. One was Sylvia. The other one was naturally Julius. Veronica and Zhou Xian's expressions changed at the same time. Julius, who was looking at the night sky outside the open-air platform with a solemn expression, turned his head to look at Veronica and Zhou Xian. His eyes lit up slightly. He smiled. Long time no see, Veronica. Zhou Xian, you? Veronica raised her eyebrows. Zhou Xian also stepped forward excitedly. Julius, you're not dead? I know you have a lot to say and I know you have a lot to ask, but if it's possible, please wait until after this is over. Julius raised his hand and stopped the two from asking. Right now there's something more important. Raising their heads, they continued to look at the night sky. Sylvia and Julius' expressions were extremely grave. This caused Veronica and Zhou Xian to calm down a little. They also walked over and looked at the night sky. Their two pitch-black dragons were facing each other from afar, facing off against each other. That's right. There were two of them. It was covered in pitch-black fur, and its horns were twisted like the horns of a demon. There were 9 eyes on the dragon's head, and there was an unconscious youth hanging from its head. Its entire body was fluctuating with an evil aura. The other dragon was also completely black. However, unlike the other dragon, it didn't have fur. Instead, it was covered in dark armor. Its shoulders were adorned with steel shoulder guards, which looked like wings made of steel. Its back was also covered with armor which looked like a fan or a net. Its forelimbs had a pair of dragon claws which didn't look ferocious. It only had 3 claws which looked like a pair of gauntlets, but they looked extremely sharp. On its back, a tail with spikes which looked like a huge cone was vibrating slowly, making a buzzing sound. The dragon's body was pitch black, but its eyes were scarlet. Black lightning flashed around its body. Every time it flashed, the space around it would slightly distort and even shatter. It was terrifying to the extreme. Bathed in black lightning, Wu Yan stood above the dragon's head. Black dragon? Black lightning? Veronica and Gulian cried out in bewilderment. Isn't that a white dragon? White flames. White dragon. White flames. Julius looked over suspiciously. What white dragon? White flames. Veronica didn't answer Julius' question. Instead, she stared at the 2 pitch-black dragons facing off in the night sky. It looks like he has more secrets that we don't know about. Fantion City in the night sky. Roar. Mordred looked at the pitch-black, black dragon lightning trap, bathed in black lightning. Alarm bells rang in his mind. This wasn't the first time Mordred had such a feeling. When Mordred was still in Julius' body, he saw the white dragon's burning flame in an image. It was the same at that time. As one of the dragon clan's royal bloodline, the underworld dragon king who ruled over the entire dragon clan, Mordred didn't believe that in this world, other than the sage dragon king Inpoke, who had disappeared for God knows how many years, there was another dragon that could make him instinctively feel threatened. Not even the sacred dragon emperor of Avalon, another member of the dragon royal bloodline. That was why Mordred didn't hesitate to awaken an army of corpse ash dragons to throw the Ansari Academy into chaos and almost destroy it. He wanted to see the white dragon's burning flame with his own eyes and recognize its origins. Unfortunately, Mordred didn't even get to see the face of the white dragon's burning flame. Now the problem of the white dragon had yet to be solved, and that man had actually summoned a black dragon, which gave Mordred the same feeling of danger. How was this possible? As the king of the dragon race, even if he hadn't fused with the dragon seed's memories and possessed true strength, there shouldn't be any dragon stronger than him. Now not only did 2 dragons appear, but they were also being controlled by the same person. Just who was this guy? Beep beep beep. Just as Mordred's heart began to tremble in front of him, a thick sound of lightning flashed in the night sky like thousands of birds chirping in unison. In the black lightning above the black dragon lightning trap, Wu Yan raised his head and met Mordred's eyes. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. A sense of danger suddenly appeared in Mordred's heart, causing his pupils to shrink. In the next second, the entire world was filled with black lightning arcs. The space also let out an unbearable roar. Chapter 1407. Beep beep beep. Pitch-black electric arcs jumped around the dragon's body and spread to the surroundings. In just a moment they covered the entire sky above Fantion City. Crack. Crack crack crack. Amidst the flashes of the pitch-black electric arcs, the space above Fantion City was visibly shattering bit by bit as if it was glass that was being struck. Immediately the space above Fantion City was severely damaged. It slowly cracked open like a spider's web. Cracks containing terrifying destructive energy spread out at an unimaginable speed, filling the entire sky above Fantion City with spatial cracks. Electric arcs flashed crazily and the space shattered inch by inch. The doomsday-like scene horrified everyone in Fantion City. They wanted to escape, but they didn't know where to go. They could only scream in horror. Some even knelt on the ground and closed their eyes to pray. Even the spectators had such a reaction, let alone Mordred, who happened to be in the middle of the pitch-black lightning arcs and could fully feel the terrifying power contained within them. His 9 ferocious beastly eyes were completely filled with shock. The ability of the black dragon's lightning trap was targeted at the destruction of space. The lightning of the black dragon's lightning trap could shatter space at will. Under such a terrifying ability, Neha Renee's underworld dragon king couldn't be sure to resist it even if she fused with the incarnation of the dragon seed memory, let alone now. Fortunately, Wu Yan didn't release enough magic power to unleash the full power of the Black Dragon's lightning trap. Otherwise, if the Black Dragon's lightning trap was fully unleashed, it would be easy to fill the entire Fanteon city with black lightning. Destroying the entire Fanteon city together with space would be as easy as flipping his hand. Was there no dragon in this world that could defeat the Sacred Dragon Emperor and the Underworld Dragon King? It was indeed so. Unfortunately, Wu Yan's Black Dragon and White Dragon weren't true dragons. They were familiars, comparable to natural disaster familiars. If the Black Dragon and the White Dragon were to use their full strength, with the current might of the Black Dragon and the White Dragon, even a peak of the 9th step would be obliterated in an instant, let alone a peak of the 8th step. For an Underworld Dragon King who had yet to fully obtain the power of a Dragon King, Wu Yan only took out a magic power that could unleash less than 10% of the power of the Black Dragon's thunder trap. Mordred already felt his scalp tingling from the shattered space above Fanteon City. A deadly sense of crisis rose in his heart. How could there be such a terrifying dragon in this world? How could there be a dragon stronger than me in this world? How could there be a dragon with such power in this world? When did the Dragon Clan have the ability to cultivate such a dragon? If that was the case, then what were the Avalon Holy Dragon Royal Family and the Nihilenia Abyssal Dragon Royal Family? Why did it exist? He had just seized Yak's body. After getting the chance to revive, Mordred, who was trying to rule the Dragon Clan and turn humans into livestock and devour them, was confused and crazy. It was impossible for there to be a dragon stronger than him in this world. It must be because he hadn't fused with the incarnation of the Dragon Seed memory and obtained true power. That's right. As long as he could fuse with the incarnation of the Dragon Seed memory and obtain true power, he would definitely be able to defeat those two dragons. Roar, 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 roar. Mordred's 9 eyes began to flash with a fierce light as he crazily activated his magic power. Now, Mordred didn't have much free time to control his current body. He gathered all his will and launched an attack on the incarnation of the Dragon Seed memory, intending to forcefully fuse with the Dragon Seed memory. As for the body, without Mordred's will to control it, it was crazy and acted at will. Anyway, this body wasn't Mordred's to begin with, but Yak's. Mordred didn't believe that Wu Yan would directly destroy Yak's body. In that case, only Yak would suffer. Roar. Therefore, the pitch-black dragon let out a roar. He ignored the threat of the black lightning around him and flapped the 2 pairs of pitch-black wings on his back. His huge body was like a war fortress, setting off a gust of wind and the atmosphere trembling. He charged straight at the Black Dragon and Wu Yan. Tisk. Wu Yan was stunned by Mordred's action at first, but then he guessed Mordred's thoughts. He curled his lips and rode the Black Dragon. The terrifying lightning that filled the sky above Fanteon City and caused the space to shatter inch by inch was all collected by the Black Dragon. It slowly dissipated between heaven and earth, falling into a state of no will control. The crazy Black Dragon brushed past the black lightning that disappeared in time and crashed into the Black Dragon at the critical moment. Boom, all of a sudden, it was as if 2 heavy mountains had collided with each other. A muffled crash resounded throughout the world, and a strong gust of wind was stirred up from the impact. It blew away the clouds in the sky and also hit Fanteon City below. The frightened citizens were shaken to the point that they staggered and fell to the ground one by one. Roar. Incomparably berserk magic power surged on the pitch-black dragon's body. In the most primitive way, it supported the dragon's strength and also increased the dragon's impact. The black dragon's 2 3-fingered dragon claws, which were covered in arm-like armor, clamped on the dragon's arms like iron pincers. The dragon's body was continuously pushed back by the impact. Originally, the dragon's body was more than 100 times larger than the largest model of Holy Dragon. It could be said to be incomparably huge. Although the Black Dragon and White Dragon were not small in size, they were not as big as the dragon. Compared to the dragon, they were like children. In addition, the Black Dragon's ability was not in strength, and it was not at full strength now. This collision easily pushed it back. With an endless sound of friction in the air, the Black Dragon used its claws to clamp the dragon's arms and kept retreating in the sky. The surrounding scenery was constantly changing. It was not until they reached the edge of Fanteon City that the Black Dragon blocked the dragon's impact and stopped. Roar. The dragon struggled a few times, but it could not break free from the Black Dragon's sharp claws. Its arms could not move and it could not pull away. At that moment, it simply opened its mouth and gathered all the magic around its body. The magic swirled up like an air current and flowed to the dragon's mouth. Several overlapping magic formations rippled out in an instant and were placed in front of the dragon's mouth, pointing at Wu Yan, who was standing above the black dragon's head. Dragon's breath. Wu Yan suddenly knelt on one knee and pressed a hand on the black dragon's head. Roar. The black dragon also roared. Its scarlet eyes glowed brightly. In the next instant, a black arc of lightning jumped up and rushed out, hitting the magic formation in front of the dragon's mouth. Bang! With a crisp cracking sound, the black lightning struck the overlapping magic array without any hindrance. Suddenly, the magic array set up by the dragon was shattered as easily as breaking a piece of rotten wood. Moreover, it was the space around it. The black dragon's lightning could shatter space. Without space, there was no way for things to exist. It was the same for magic formations and magic power. Therefore, when space was shattered, the magic formation and magic power that existed in the space would be destroyed along with the space. The dragon's breath magic could not be used. However, space had the ability to automatically repair itself. Therefore, in just a short moment, the shattered space was once again restored to its perfect state. Roar, not letting go of this opportunity, the dragon once again gathered magic power and set up a magic formation to spit out dragon's breath. Seeing this, Wu Yan's expression showed that he was in trouble. He couldn't damage Ai's body, and even if he attacked, it would have no effect on Mordred. How was he supposed to fight? Was he supposed to keep defending? I have to drive Mordred out of Ai's body. Wu Yan narrowed his eyes and looked at the opposite side. With his eyes closed, Yashur was buried in the dragon's body with his upper body and one of his hands exposed. Black dragon. Roar. The black dragon's eyes narrowed. It raised its head and directly rammed into the dragon's head. Bang. With a muffled sound, the dragon's mouth was closed and the dragon's breath attack was broken. At this time, above the black dragon's head, an afterimage flashed in the air. It flew to the dragon's head and stopped in front of Yashur. Then a hand gently rested on Yashur's head. Chapter 1408. This place is a very peculiar space. This space is a piece of chaos. There is nothing here, there is no scenery, there is only a piece of space that is as bright as honey. In this space, from time to time, some ripples will appear in the bright chaos. It is like a lake that has water droplets. It is very beautiful. Unfortunately, the scene at the center of the space had mercilessly shattered this beautiful scene. If one looks carefully, one can see that there is a battle taking place in the center of this space. A pitch-black substance occupies a piece of land under the bright space. It is like polluted water in the corner of a clear lake. There are 9 evil eyes on top of it. It is fluctuating with an evil aura. At this time, in this pitch-black substance, there is a flesh-colored tentacle extending from it. It is like a whip. It is whizzing through the entire space. It is constantly lashing out in a certain direction. There is an extremely flirtatious girl in that direction. She is tall and slender and very voluptuous. Instead of calling her a girl, it is better to call her an elegant noble lady. Looking at her makes one's heart itch. Her waist-length pink hair has a bright red luster, as if it is showing its owner's passion. White as snow skin, ruby-like eyes. There is a pair of dragon horns on her head, but they are not round like Ai's, nor are they like the antlers of the mother of dragons. They are more similar to the horns of a normal dragon, sharp and angular. As for the girl's appearance, those who know Aiku will be able to recognize her. Because compared to Aiku, the girl's appearance is very similar. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are exactly the same. However, compared to Aiku, the girl's appearance is undoubtedly a lot more mature and also a lot more flirtatious. Just like Aiku after she has grown up, she also has a graceful temperament around her. This proves that the girl's cultivation is very different from the unreasonable Aiku. However, this mature and flirtatious girl is currently in a very sorry state. Her hair is not disheveled, but it is a bit messy. The dress covering her body is tattered. The degree of exposure was extremely high, as if someone had forcefully pulled it apart. If someone saw it, their first thought would probably be that it was a young girl who had been forcefully violated by a man, and they would not be able to bear to look at it. However, the flirtatious girl had a leisurely smile on her face. She looked neither hurried nor slow, and the tentacles that were about to hit her would be blocked by a layer of water ripples that suddenly appeared. Even if some managed to slip through and wrap around the girl's body, they would be quickly shattered by a layer of invisible power. Come to think of it, the reason why the girl's clothes were in tatters should be because they were torn apart by the tentacles before they were shattered, right? On the ground, tentacles continuously shot out from the pitch-black substance with 9 eyes, attacking the young girl's body. However, they were either blocked or shattered, unable to do anything to the girl. This caused the evil aura emanating from the pitch-black substance to gradually thicken. Not long after, a coarse, muffled voice that sounded like an angry roar rang out from the pitch-black substance. Why don't you fuse with me, Nobby? The flirtatious girl named Nobby chuckled. Why should I fuse with you? Aren't you the incarnation of a dragon seed memory that was born to fuse with a dragon king? Was it to bestow upon him supreme wisdom and allow him to obtain true power? The coarse voice was filled with anger. The Avalon Holy Dragon royal family and the Nihilenia Abyssal Dragon royal family are both royal bloodlines of the dragon race. Both were originally split from the Sage Dragon King Inpoke's bloodline. Strictly speaking, they share the same origin. In terms of qualifications to fuse with you as a descendant of the Nihilenia Abyssal Dragon royal family, I should be qualified as well, no? Who would want to fuse with something as disgusting as you? The one who spoke wasn't the incarnation of a dragon seed memory called Nobby. Instead, it was a coarse voice that came from above the bright chaotic space. It was Yak's voice. Taking a closer look, 2 large bird cages were hanging above the chaotic space and 2 people were locked inside. One of them was Yak, the other was Yashur. You took someone else's body without permission and now you want to fuse with someone else. Your personality is terrible. Yak didn't hide her disgust at all. Open this damn bird cage if you know what's good for you. Who do you think you're locking up as a bird? Shut up, Avalon's Empress. Mordred roared angrily. I don't have much time to waste on you, Nobby. Yashur gripped the iron bars of the birdcage tightly and gritted his teeth. Don't admit defeat. Don't worry. Even though she was in tatters, Nobby still smiled calmly. I might not be able to do anything outside, but this is my territory. I won't give in so easily, damned vixen. Mordred spat in anger. Why do you have to reject me? Indeed, as the last descendant of the Nihilenia Abyssal Dragon King, you have the right to fuse with me. I can't deny that. Nobby smiled faintly. However, I'm sorry, but I've already decided to fuse with Princess of Avalon. You. Mordred was mad with rage. What's so attractive about those little kids who haven't even grown hair yet? Who are you calling a kid who hasn't even grown hair yet? Yak was furious, but what made her even angrier was that Nobby actually agreed to it. Yak is indeed an immature brat. She doesn't attract me. Nobby shrugged. Unfortunately, compared to her, I don't like Nihilenia, who only knows how to play with her tentacles. What did you say? Even though I was born to fuse with either Avalon or Neharania to give them true power, it's my right to choose who I want to fuse with. Nobby said as if she was adding oil to the fire. That's why I chose Avalon. You should give up. I won't give up. Mordred's furious roar echoed. I want to defeat Avalon. I want to rule the entire dragon race. I want to stand at the peak of the dragon race. I want to defeat that black dragon and that white dragon outside. Don't even think about making me give up. After saying that, Mordred once again controlled countless disgusting tentacles, like a giant python that had found its prey and attacked Nobby. How annoying. Nobby frowned. Her displeased voice echoed in the chaos space. In the next moment, the battle between the two of them continued. Nobby. Yasha slapped the cage in regret. Damn it, can't I help at all? Why can that guy move freely in here but I can't? Aiku also shouted in annoyance. I'm a dragon princess too. But your body has been taken over. Yasha scratched his head in annoyance. Yak, can you give me the paladin armor? This dragon dispatching workshop isn't a real space, it's a spiritual space. Aiku sighed, a little frustrated. That's why I can't make the paladin armor here unless Nobby agrees. But now she can't even take care of herself. How can I make the paladin armor for you? Is there no other way? Yasha lowered his head, unwilling to give up. At least let me help a little. Speaking of which, isn't it because you were also schemed against by that fellow? Yak rolled her eyes at Yashio. If you were still outside, you might have been able to stop me from going berserk. I can't do anything. Yasha's expression turned bitter. It's Yasha's fault for being careless. He was with Yak and could have gotten the paladin armor at any time. But because he thought he was safe in Fantion City, he didn't pay attention to his surroundings. Not only was he kidnapped, but he also ended up like this. If Nabi was taken down by Mordred and forced to fuse with her, not only would Nabi disappear but Yak would also be killed. When that happened, Yashur could only muddle along as a star essence maker and live out the rest of his life. That's worse than hell. Damn it. Yasha slammed the cage. Can someone help us? As soon as he said that, a giggling voice entered everyone's ears. Young man, do you need help? Chapter 1409. Young man, do you need help? An ethereal voice with a hint of mockery echoed clearly in the chaotic space and entered everyone's ears. That voice, which definitely belonged to the impossible fifth person, caused Yashur and Yak to be stunned. It also caused Nabi and Mordred to stop attacking and defending on the spot. This was the Dragon Workshop, a spiritual space created by the great holy dragons of the primordial dragon clan. It was used to allow the spiritual bodies of dragons to enter and create products. It was the place to create holy knight armors. Therefore, this was Nabi's territory. Nabi was the embodiment of the dragon species' memory. It was the knowledge accumulated by the dragon clan over tens of thousands of years. The dragon clan stored the accumulated knowledge in the Dragon Workshop. As the embodiment of the dragon species' memory, Nabi was the master of this place. Generally speaking, only dragons could enter the Dragon Workshop. If Nabi invited an outsider, she could also pull their spiritual bodies into the Dragon Workshop. However, this was not a situation where the fifth one could appear. The Avalon Holy Dragon Royal Family and the Nihilenia Abyssal Dragon Royal Family were engaged in a fateful battle. Mordred was fighting for the embodiment of the dragon species' memory in an attempt to obtain the true power of the Abyssal Dragon King. Under such circumstances, the Dragon Workshop became a battlefield between the two dragon kings. No other dragon clan members were allowed to interfere. Yasha was able to appear here because he had become a part of Yak's body. Therefore he was able to witness the battle with his own eyes. However, other than him, it was impossible for any other existence to enter this spiritual space. Did Nabi invite them in? Impossible. Nabi was having a hard time protecting herself. It was useless to invite others in. In this spiritual space, no matter how strong a person was in the real world, they would not be able to defeat the spiritual bodies of the Dragon Clan in this territory that belonged to the Dragon Clan. The other Dragon Clan members were unable to enter the Dragon Workshop, due to the battle between the kings. Even if they entered, they would not be able to defeat the King Mordred. Logically speaking, the fifth one should not appear in the Dragon Workshop. It was a pity. His calculations were flawless. However, in this world an anomaly appeared. I didn't expect that I would be locked up in a birdcage one day. Bang. As the fifth person who suddenly intervened spoke, Yashur's birdcage made a cracking sound. It suddenly cracked open and then with a crisp cracking sound, it shattered with a loud bang. Wow. As soon as the birdcage shattered, Yashur, who was hanging in the air, also fell down. He let out a blood-curdling scream, but a hand reached out in time and grabbed his collar. You even know how to scream so loudly. Looks like there's nothing else. Phew. Yashur raised his head in fear and looked at the person who grabbed his collar. Then a playful smile and a pair of wine-red eyes appeared in front of Yasha's eyes. You. Yashio cried out in surprise. Roland. You really know how to give people trouble. Wu Yen went against common sense and floated in the air, rolling his eyes at Yashio. Do you know that the outside world is turning upside down because of you? Yashur opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but the others also reacted. It's you. Nabi and Yak were both surprised. Why are you here? Mordred was startled as well. However, Wu Yen ignored him and glanced at him. Then he looked at Yak and waved his hand. Bang. The birdcage that Yak was trapped in seemed to have been hit by something as it shattered into pieces. It was only then that Nabi and Mordred realized what had happened. Yak and Yashur were locked in the birdcage because Yak's body was occupied by Mordred. Yashur, who was one with Yak, was also implicated. Both of them were sealed by Mordred at the same time. Now the birdcage was shattered. This meant that Wu Yen broke the seal that Mordred placed on them with brute force. Was this something a human could do? You. Mordred's voice trembled. Her angry roar echoed in the entire dragon dispatching workshop. Who are you? Hearing this, Wu Yan, who was holding Yak with one hand and grabbing Yasher's collar with the other, grinned and raised his eyebrows. Take a guess. Damn it. Mordred was furious. Swish, swish. A series of sharp whistling sounds broke through the air without any warning, stirring up waves of airflow. The dark red tentacles that could cover the entire dragon dispatching workshop were like wildly dancing vines as they whipped towards Wu Yan with whistling sounds and broken whip shadows. However, before the whips could reach Wu Yan, a beautiful figure suddenly appeared in front of Wu Yan. With a wave of her slender arm, a ripple suddenly spread out in the space and swept through the dark red tentacles. Bang! Immediately, the countless tentacles seemed to have been sliced countless times by an invisible blade. They broke into pieces of meat and fell to the ground. It's rare that I have a guest here. Can you not treat him so roughly? Looking at Wu Yan, Nabi didn't hide the curiosity in her eyes. I'm curious as to why he's here. I invaded Yasher's consciousness and followed it to this place. Wu Yan didn't hide it and tossed Yak and Yasher to Nabi. As for how I invaded Yasher's consciousness, don't ask. Telling you will only add to your troubles. Although he didn't know who this flirtatious girl who looked so similar to Yak was or where this place was, Wu Yan could still tell that this was a mental space. Originally, he only wanted to use a mental magic to wake Yasher up. If possible, he even wanted to wake Yak up and force Mordred to retreat. Who would have thought that when Wu Yan used his mana to invade Yasher's consciousness, he was pulled to this place before he could wake Yasher up. However, the situation didn't seem to have changed. Since this is a mental space, Yak and Yasher should be able to wake up in the real world after Mordred is forced out of this mental space. They should be able to resist Mordred, right? Wu Yan looked down at the pitch-black substance that was roaring on the ground like sewage. Back when you were still Makawos, you said you'd wait until the next greater feast before you and I duel again. Wu Yan's expression slowly turned indifferent. Mordred, don't you think this is the right time? Rune? Randall. Mordred growled as she waved her tentacles. Do you think that you can defeat me in the dragon dispatching workshop? Dragon workshop? Wu Yan looked around at the bright chaotic space. Is that the name of this mental space? That's right. Mordred sneered. In here all the standards of the real world cannot be brought in. In here the stronger the spiritual body, the stronger the power. You, a human, indeed surprised me by being able to break my seal. However, can your spiritual power surpass that of the dragon clan? Dragons had magical power. Among the spells they controlled there were many mental spells. With the support of mana and the training of magic, as well as the various advantages that dragons had over humans, it wasn't without reason that Mordred dared to make such a boastful claim. However, Mordred was wrong again. Magical power? Who could defeat Wu Yan now? Magic? Wu Yan has 103,000 grimoires. How could he lack magic and magic? So, would Wu Yan's mental power be weak? The answer, of course, was no. In the next instant, the world trembled as a vast and invisible force descended from the sky, enveloping Mordred without any explanation. Wah! Mordred didn't even have time to be shocked before the force slammed into her. With a blood-curdling scream, Mordred disappeared from this world as if she had been ostracized. Let's go out too. Wu Yan grabbed Yak and Yasher and disappeared in a flash. Looking at the dragon dispatching workshop that was bustling with noise and excitement a second ago, Nabi was at a loss. Chapter 14:10. Yua. Yashu fiercely opened his eyes and gasped for air. His body was already drenched in sweat. Yashu's eyes were wide open and he was gasping for air. When he woke up, Yashu noticed his current situation. Not only was his body completely naked, his entire lower body and one of his arms were buried in a ball of soft flesh, as if he was buried in a swamp. It was hard to tell whether it was comfortable or uncomfortable, but Yaksa could clearly feel that his left hand, which was covered with snake-like ferocious star carvings, was currently in a heart-wrenching pain. Are you awake? Wu Yan retracted his hand and shouted at Yashu. Don't be in a daze. Stop daydreaming. Yak should have woken up by now. You need to fuse with Yak's will as a rider and expel Mordred from Yak's body. Oh. Yasher was suddenly startled and hurriedly closed his eyes. The will belonging to the rider was like an old tree that had taken root. It followed the pitch-black dragon below him and fiercely stabbed downwards. Roar. The black dragon that was still wrestling with the black dragon lightning trap suddenly let out an earth-shattering roar. Its voice was filled with pain. Roar. Roar. As it howled in pain, the black dragon began to struggle. However, its body was tightly gripped by the black dragon's lightning trap. It couldn't break free at all. Damn it! Mordred's pained cries rang out from within the black dragon's body. No. No. I can't possibly lose. I spent so much effort to find the awakening apparatus and tricked Klaus into becoming my supporter. I spent so much effort to finally reach this stage. How can I possibly lose? I must say you did spend a lot of effort. Wu Yan knelt on one knee and pressed his star carvings hand on the black dragon's head. He closed his eyes. Unfortunately, in your eyes, your enemies have always only been Yak, the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family, and Yak's master, Xianxia. You've never put anyone else in your eyes, so you've never thought that in this world. You never thought that there would be someone else who could suppress you, the Dragon King. This is where you failed. Wu Yan mobilized the magic power in the star carvings. A dazzling white light suddenly flashed, illuminating the sky above Fantion City like the sun at dawn. A pure divine power invaded the body of the black dragon. It attacked a certain dark spiritual entity in its body. It was the purification power of the angel's holiness, Kines Natsuan. Dong. Oh. Mordred howled in agony as a dull thud echoed in her mind. No. Yashu abruptly opened his eyes. At the same time, Yak's furious roar resounded from the pitch-black dragon's body. Get out of my body. A blinding light surged out of the black dragon's body and merged with the purification light of the angel's holiness. It flashed in every corner of Fantion City. In Fantion City, every citizen couldn't help but close their eyes and reach out to block the strong light that was strong enough to hurt their eyes. Not long after, in the center of the strong light, a cloud of black mist jumped out pathetically as if it had been filtered out. Under the illumination of the white light, it let out a series of screams and turned into a shocking black light. It shot toward the edge of the sky and disappeared from this world. Thus, under the blinding white light, the pitch-black dragon's body gradually underwent changes. The black fur that looked like it was contaminated was washed away bit by bit. The black color faded away. The demon-like twisted horns slowly turned back into a sharp right angle. A horn similar to that of a unicorn grew out from the center of the dragon's head, between the other two dragon horns. The two pairs of crow-like wings also recovered, becoming as pure and holy as an angel. Then the 9 beastly eyes also disappeared. They were replaced by a pair of clear red eyes. Roar, 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 roar. The surrounding holy dragons roared in joy, celebrating the return of the sacred dragon emperor. They circled in a circle and bowed again. Unfortunately, the dragon's ridiculously large body slowly turned into light particles, disappearing into the gradually dimming white light. A petite girl with long pink hair and a young man appeared from the dragon's heart. They closed their eyes tightly and fell down. Wu Yan rode the black dragon lightning trap and arrived below Yak and Yashur. He caught them with each hand. Wu Yan shook his head with a smile as he looked at the unconscious Yak and Yashur. They really know how to give people trouble. Although that was what he said, Wu Yan showed a joyful smile on his face. He raised one of his hands and slowly spread it open. In the palm of his opened hand, a drop of dark red blood floated in the air. It moved up and down like a red gem, very dazzling. Awakening blood of the Avalon Saint Dragon Emperor. Special item. Extracted from the last descendant of the Avalon Saint Dragon Emperor when he enters the state of awakening. The blood contains special power. Due to the extraction by the system, it has magical effects. If consumed by a vampire who relies on blood as their foundation, it can strengthen the vampire's ability. If consumed by a vampire's true ancestor, it can increase the level of the vampire by 1 level. Note: due to the extraction by the system, it can only be effective if consumed by the system's user. The effective range is before level 90. When the user reaches level 89, consuming it will be ineffective. Ding. Dungeon Quest 3 completed. Obtained 50,000 equipment points, item points, ability points and summoning points. Dungeon World. Star Carvings Dragon Knight. Dungeon Quest. Acquire. Mission 1. Enter Tokisaki Kurumi's Red Jade mode and use the ability of the angel, Zafkiel, to use the Bullet of 12 YOD. When the Mother of Dragons placed the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family in the Abayan Forest, she would obtain a drop of the first blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family before he was born and placed in the Abayan Forest. Quest reward: 10,000 equipment points, item points, ability points and summoning points completed. Quest 2. Obtain a drop of infant blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family. Quest reward: 30,000 equipment points, item points, ability points and summoning points completed. Quest 3. Obtain a drop of awakening blood of the last descendant of the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family. Quest reward: 50,000 equipment points, item points, ability points and summoning points completed. Character: Wu Yen. Equipment points: 111100 item points, 230000 ability points, 101000 summoning points, 131000 level, 85. Ding. All dungeon quests have been completed. User can now choose to leave the current dungeon world at any time. This dungeon world is now open to user. When user re-enters the world of Star-Carved Dragon Knight, the system will no longer issue any dungeon quests. User can now freely enter and exit the world of Star-Carved Dragon Knight. While AI Ku was still in her human form, Wu Yen took the opportunity to obtain a drop of blood from her. He successfully obtained a drop of awakening blood of the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family and completed his third dungeon quest. At this point, Wu Yen completed all 3 dungeon quests in Star-Carved Dragon Knight. Not only did he obtain 90,000 points, he also obtained a special item that can raise his level all the way to the pinnacle of Tier 9. One could say that Wu Yen returned from this dungeon world with a bountiful harvest. Looking up, Wu Yen saw the rising sun piercing through the night sky. He could almost see the silhouettes of young girls in it. Chuju, Mikoto, Ikaros, Yukari, Shokuho Kasumi, Flandra-chan, Astria, Kodari, Kurumi, Toka, Yashitsun, Yushin, Meijio, Origami, Kinuhata Sai-ai, Frenda, Takitsubu Riku, Asuna, Yui, Natsuki, Kanon, Nagisa and Agurola, who turned into familiars. The girls who are tied to Wu Yan's fate are all smiling at Wu Yan, silently telling him how much they missed him. I want to go back. Holding the drop of awakening blood of the Avalon Saint Dragon royal family tightly, Wu Yan exhaled and rode the black dragon back to Fantion City. Chapter 1411. The night that made the people of Fantion City and the important figures of the various top forces in Aluxtron tremble in fear finally passed without any mishaps. Although Yak was forced to awaken this time and her body was almost taken away in Fantion City, putting humans in a dangerous situation, the end result was very fortunate. Not a single person was injured and not a single brick of the building was destroyed. The entire Fantion City was intact and there were no accidents. If one were to say what effect Yak's forced awakening had, it was probably that it made the people of Fantion City panic, and also made the various top forces tremble in fear. The roaring dragon under the night sky, whose body was even larger than the airship, was deeply engraved in the hearts of all the witnesses. During the entire chaotic night, other than the Cyphros Empire's airship being crushed by the awakened Yak, there were no other losses. So it was said to be a close call. Of course, for the Cyphros Empire this was definitely not a good thing. The Lorraine Kingdom of Knights was in perfect condition. All the major forces were in perfect condition. The buildings were in perfect condition. The Kingdom of Knights was also in perfect condition. Even the holy dragons had returned to their places and reconnected with their owners. Everything was in perfect condition. However, the Cyphros Empire had lost an airship. That was an airship, not some luxurious ship. Losing an airship like that was not a huge blow to the Cyphros Empire, but it was definitely not a small blow either. Moreover, everyone else was safe and sound, and only the Cyphros Empire was in trouble. How could the Cyphros Empire be willing to accept this? Originally, Klaus wanted to put all the blame for the loss of the airship on the Knighthood Empire and exaggerate the impact to make the entire Knighthood Empire take responsibility. After all, The Cyphros Empire's airship was destroyed by all the dragons of the Lorimon Knighthood Empire, wasn't it? It was a pity that Klaus's wishful thinking did not come to fruition. That day Wu Yan stood up and used the reason that the dragon appeared from the Cyphros Empire's airship last night as a reason to forcefully pull all the representatives present as witnesses and borrow a team from Veronica. Head to the location of the destroyed airships of the Cyphros Empire and collect the fragments of the instruments left behind. Although the device was a magic device, the other factions also had their own magic device experts. After a period of research and investigation, the device was able to forcefully evolve a dragon into a holy dragon and awaken Yak. In addition, Yak and Yaxu had appeared to testify. The arrested Anya, who was originally a member of the Cyphros Empire, also came forward to testify. As a result, the actions of the Cyphros Empire were completely exposed. In the end, not only did the Knighthood of Loria not have to take any responsibility, they even bit back at the Cyphros Empire, causing the Cyphros Empire to take away the national treasure of the knighthood and research it without permission. The crime of causing the giant dragon to go berserk and almost cause danger. Veronica personally ran to Wu Yan's room and told him that this time, they must make the Cyphros Empire bleed fiercely. Of course, regardless of whether the Cyphros Empire bleed or not, the representatives of the various factions were no longer in the mood to hold the Continental Conference. After the incident ended, the Continental Conference that was originally planned to be held in Fantion City was also cancelled. The organizer, the current Pope of the Espadar Cathedral Lazor IV, officially announced the cancellation of the Continental Conference on the same day. Thus, the various factions expressed that they would continue to follow up on last night's incident, and then they all left on their airships. Klaus also took a carriage back to the Cyphros Empire with a gloomy face. It was believed that the Cyphros Empire would be forced to write a lot of documents on diplomatic issues. Just like Veronica said, they would bleed fiercely. However, the situation of the Knighthood of Loria was not very good either. The giant dragon that night was obviously not an ordinary dragon. Just its strength alone was not something an ordinary dragon could possess. The Knighthood had never made it public that they had such a dragon. It was inevitable that some people would suspect that the Knighthood had ulterior motives and was planning to hide their trump cards to do something ambitious. Because of this, Yak's identity as a dragon princess could no longer be hidden. It was likely that the various factions would soon know about it. And how should they deal with Yak, the princess of the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family? That was also a diplomatic issue. Only Veronica and the other important figures of the knighthood could have a headache over it. Apart from that, there were also various other problems. The first prince of the knighthood of Loria, Julius? The fact that Loriaman didn't die and that it had something to do with the entire incident. The problem of Mordred, who had turned back into a spirit and escaped to who knows where. Also, the problem of the final battle between the Avalon Holy Dragon royal family and the Nihilenia Underworld Dragon royal family. There were also many problems that the knighthood of Loria, Yeshu, and Yak had to face and solve. Under these circumstances, the problem of why Wu Yan was able to control the Black Dragon's lightning trap and the White Dragon's burning flame was put aside for the time being. Normal dragon cultivators could only contract with one dragon. That was the most basic of common sense. It wasn't that no one had ever thought of contracting two dragons, but it was absolutely unrealistic. This was because the amount of star essence in a dragon cultivator's body could at most keep one dragon alive. If there was an extra dragon, then not only would the two dragons not be able to get enough star essence, even the dragon cultivator himself might fall into a predicament of lacking star essence. Because of that, a dragon cultivator could at most contract with one dragon. Even if they wanted to contract with another dragon, the dragon mother would not agree. Wu Yan, on the other hand, broke the norm by controlling two dragons at once. Not only that, but why was his boar able to survive in his body was also a mystery. Also, the terrifying power of the white flame and black lightning. All of these mysteries made Wu Yan, whose identity and background were also a mystery, the most mysterious person in the eyes of everyone. This mystery was only known to those from chivalry for now, but Wu Yan's active performance last night had already made him known to the leaders of the other factions. Before long, Wu Yan should be able to truly make a name for himself in Luxtron, right? Now, this soon-to-be famous person was hiding in his room in Fantion City. Sitting on the bed, Wu Yan closed his eyes tightly. Mana currents surged around his body like a tide about to go berserk, but they brought unimaginable pressure to the surroundings. Specks of starlight silently rolled around Wu Yan's body. There wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. Upon closer inspection, the star carving on the back of Wu Yan's hand had already disappeared, proving that he'd undone his seal. This wasn't all that surprising. Even with his power sealed, Wu Yan would find time to undo the seal every day when he was alone to cultivate his mana. The process of cultivating mana was extremely boring, and Wu Yan wasn't a patient person, but he liked the feeling of slowly growing stronger. That was why Wu Yan would cultivate his mana every day. He could feel the mana in his body growing bit by bit, experiencing the feeling of growing stronger. He felt very satisfied. That was why Wu Yan could persevere through the boring process of cultivation. Otherwise, with his lazy personality, he'd rather spend more time studying the magic tricks and spells in the 103,000 grimoires. He slowly gathered the insignificant increase in mana and added it to his own. Sensing the obvious increase in mana, Wu Yan slowly withdrew his mana and let the surging mana currents around him calm down. Phew, exhaling, he slowly opened his eyes. Imperceptible traces of golden light flashed through his wine-red pupils, making his pupils seem even more profound. After a while they dimmed and returned to normal. And then, stretching lazily, Wu Yan ended today's training session. Normally Wu Yan would just lie down and take a nap at this time. Or maybe he would go out for a walk and flirt with the maids in Fenshan City. But today Wu Yan didn't do that. After stretching, Wu Yan flipped his hand. In his palm, a few drops of dark red blood moved up and down. It was the original blood of the Avalon Saint Dragon Emperor. Chapter 14:12. 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor floated above his palm, rising and falling rhythmically, exuding a brilliant gem-like brilliance. It was extremely beautiful. Whether it was the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, infant blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, or awakening blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, they could only raise Wu Yan to the peak of rank 9, stopping at the threshold of demigod rank. Now Wu Yan had a total of 5 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, 1 drop of infant blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, and 1 drop of awakening blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor. However, he was already level 85, and taking them after level 89 would no longer have any effect. Therefore Wu Yan could only take 4 drops. These 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor would raise Wu Yan's level to 89, reaching the peak of rank 9. Thinking of this, Wu Yan's heart heated up, and he took a few deep breaths to suppress it, allowing his emotions to return to a state of tranquility. Then Wu Yan raised his head and swallowed the 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor. Boom! The 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor slid down Wu Yan's throat at an extremely fast speed, all the way down and into his body. Before Wu Yan could react, the 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor immediately turned into a powerful energy, like a rushing river, rolling down his throat, wandering around a few times and entering his blood. The moment the 4 powerful energies entered his blood, the blood in Wu Yan's body also began to riot. Wu Yan's face paled, then turned red. His body trembled uncomfortably and his blood vessels also swelled. The blood and the energy from the 4 drops of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor ran amok in his blood vessels, causing Wu Yan a strange pain. Wu Yan did not expect that swallowing the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor would cause such a change, and could only grit his teeth and bear it. Immediately in his blood vessels, surging waves of energy surged through his blood vessels, colliding fiercely with the rampaging blood. Dong! A collision sound that only Wu Yan could hear rang out, causing Wu Yan to groan and his face flushed red. Inside Wu Yan's body, his blood and the 4 types of energy intertwined with each other, releasing invisible waves of energy. It turned into ripples and reverberated. In blood of the Holy Dragon Emperor's body. Like a hungry wolf who knows how long, scrambling to snatch the ripples of the blood Holy Dragon Emperor to absorb them, one of the blood of the Holy Dragon Emperor God. Every time this happened, Wu Yan could feel it. I seem to be a little stronger. Wu Yan's spirit was lifted and he seriously looked inside his body. The 4 drops of energy in his blood vessels seemed to have blended with his blood, directly fusing together and flowed with his blood. Along with this process, waves of invisible waves frequently turned into a bow invisible ripple, separated from his blood, and swept in all directions in his body. It was constantly absorbed by every part of Wu Yan's body, strengthening him. Body, blood, magic, organs. Everything in Wu Yan's body was absorbing this bow invisible ripple, and devouring it, turning it into a catalyst to strengthen himself. This feeling of being able to strengthen everything, Wu Yan had only experienced it in the magical pool water from the land of gods. He did not expect it to be this time. He actually experienced it again. However, compared to the magical pool water, the effect of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor was still a little different. What was the difference? The difference was that the magical pool water strengthened and purified everything in the human body on average. On the other hand, the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor gave priority to strengthening the blood, and then the other parts. As a result, the blood was strengthened the most and the other parts were a little less. If the magical pool water strengthened the blood and the other parts at a ratio of 5, then the strengthening ratio of the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor was 7:3. However, not only did this not affect Wu Yan's improvement, but it was even better. As a vampire true ancestor, Wu Yan's greatest advantage was naturally his blood. The power of vampires came from their own blood, and true ancestors relied on their own blood the most. After being strengthened by the original blood of the Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor, the magic in Wu Yan's body was increasing at an unimaginable speed. Moreover, it wasn't a mindless increase. Instead, it was an improvement in the quality of the mana, and when the quality of the mana was at its purest, it would increase the quantity. The quality of the magic had increased, and Wu Yan's strength was also increasing rapidly. Not long after, the system notification sounded in Wu Yan's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the user for leveling up. Current level, 86. Ding! Congratulations to the user for leveling up. Current level, 87. Ding! Congratulations to the user for leveling up. Current level, 88. Ding! Congratulations to the user for leveling up. Current level, 89. As expected, 4 system notifications sounded in succession, and Wu Yan's level was instantly raised to level 89, the pinnacle of Tier 9. At this point, Wu Yan had finally reached the threshold of the demigod rank. He was only one step away from becoming a demigod who could definitely be called a powerhouse, whether in the main world or the dungeon world. However, this small step was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Especially for people like Wu Yan who used the system to earn EXP to level up, it was extremely difficult. After all, at this stage, there was no existence that could provide them with a huge amount of EXP. If they wanted to level up, they had to be down to earth and defeat enemies one by one until they accumulated enough EXP to level up successfully. Leveling up was the most difficult thing to do, not to mention the demigod rank, which was the hardest to level up. However, just as this thought rose in Wu Yan's mind, a series of system notifications stunned Wu Yan. Beep. Detected that the user has reached level 89. Special quest, Path to Demigod, activated. Special quest, Path to Demigod quest introduction. The process of becoming a demigod is extremely difficult. At this stage, simply earning EXP will no longer be enough to satisfy the user's needs. Due to the user's slow progress, when the user and his summoned character reach level 89, the system will open the door for them and provide them with guidance to become a demigod. When the user and his summoned character complete the quest according to the system's requirements, the system will generate an item to upgrade the user and his summoned character to the demigod rank, allowing the user and his summoned character to become a demigod instantly. Quest introduction. The special quest Path to Demigod is a chain quest. Every chain quest will be carried out in a dungeon world, one world per chain. The content of the quest is to collect certain items. These items are the materials required to upgrade the item to the demigod rank. When the user has collected all the required materials in the dungeon world, the quest will be announced as completed. Things to note in the quest. 1. When the user completes the first chain quest, the system will generate an item to upgrade the user to the demigod rank. 2. If the user does not choose to generate an item to upgrade the user to the demigod rank after completing the first chain quest, the second chain quest will be activated. 3. Starting from the second chain quest, the items required to be collected will be able to strengthen the effect of the item to the demigod rank. The more chains the user completes, the stronger the effect of the item to the demigod rank will be. After a certain extent, the item will be able to increase the user's level again before reaching the demigod rank. 4. No matter how many chains the user completes, the final item will only be able to upgrade the user to level 99 at most. After the item is able to upgrade the user to level 99, the effect of the item will not increase anymore. 5. When the user chooses to complete the path to demigod mission, the system will automatically allow the user to enter the dungeon world where the items required to be collected are. The dungeon world where the user completes the path to demigod mission will not activate the dungeon world. The user will only be able to leave the current dungeon world after completing the path to demigod mission. 6. Some special dungeon worlds will add some restrictions to the user to increase the difficulty of the path to demigod mission. 7. The user can only bring along 2 summoned characters to participate in the path to demigod mission in each chain quest. More than 2 summoned characters will not be able to enter the dungeon world. Beep. Do you wish to proceed with the special quest, Path to Demigod? Chapter 14:13. Beep. Do you wish to proceed with the special mission, Demigod Path? Following the notification, the system list popped up without any warning and opened up in front of Wu Yan. Wu Yan subconsciously shifted his gaze to the system list. What he saw was a 4th option at the bottom of the system list that originally had 3 options: status, exchange, and instance. Demigod path. There's really a shortcut to becoming a demigod? Wu Yan didn't know if he should be happy or surprised. Originally, he had already mentally prepared himself for a long war. He had planned to transform into a battle maniac and challenge the strongest in the main world. He had even activated Violet's Red Jade mode to challenge the other 5 demigods. Otherwise, he would have gone to some of the more advanced dungeons and slaughtered his way through them. However, Wu Yan knew that it wasn't easy to become a demigod. Otherwise, he wouldn't have boasted to Sylph that he would become a demigod in 5 years. With the system's help, Wu Yan felt that he wouldn't be able to become a demigod in less than 5 years. One can imagine how difficult it is to become a demigod. There are only 5 demigods in the entire Spalier world. Among the demigods he encountered in the dungeons, Violet was the only one he could summon. It's easy to imagine how difficult it is to become a demigod. However, it's different now. As long as he completes the first round of the demigod path mission, Wu Yan will be able to obtain the item to become a demigod. This was much faster than honestly challenging each and every one of the experts. Wu Yan stared blankly at the last option in the system list. After a long time, he finally managed to squeeze out a thought. System, you really are a good person. With that thought in mind, Wu Yan clicked on the demigod path option. The list changed immediately. Wu Yan's mind just now was filled with the mission description and the things to take note of. Beep. Do you wish to proceed with the special mission, demigod path? Wu Yan hesitated for a bit when he heard the same notification for the second time. The 5th part of the mission description stated that when the user chooses to proceed with the mission, the system will automatically send the user to the dungeon world where the required items are. In other words, the moment Wu Yan chose to proceed with the mission, the system will pull him into the dungeon world. However, Wu Yan hasn't said goodbye to his friends here yet. Even though Wu Yan will leave this world, time will stop. The time in this world had also been frozen, but if he wanted to see these friends again, it would be impossible for him to do so in a short period of time. If he didn't say goodbye, he would feel a bit uncomfortable. Sylvia, Corset, and Luca in particular had a certain degree of intimate contact with him. No matter what he said, he couldn't just leave like that, right? There was also Rebecca. Even though the 2 of them were more like friends than lovers, the perfect student council president kissed Wu Yan at dusk after their date. Wu Yan's heart was moved. Even though it was just a kiss on the cheek, Wu Yan started to feel a bit vexed. After a long time, Wu Yan laughed self-deprecatingly. Seriously, what am I worrying about here? Anyway, time will be frozen after I leave this world. It shouldn't take much time to complete the first phase of the demigod path mission. I can just come back and gather after I complete the first phase of the mission. After completing the first part of the mission, he'll be able to generate the item to advance to demigod rank. At the very least, Wu Yan had to ensure that he completed the first part of the mission and obtain the ticket to advance to demigod rank. Thinking of this, Wu Yan didn't feel troubled anymore. He directly said in his heart, "System, proceed with the mission, demigod path." As soon as he finished speaking, a mechanical voice that was as calm as an ancient well immediately responded. Beep. Special mission, demigod path, activated. Special mission, demigod path mission round. First part mission world. Star Carvings Dragon Knight mission content. Obtain a drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's original blood, a drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's infant blood, and a drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's awakening blood. What? The mission content that appeared on the demigod path interface in the system list and in his mind at the same time stunned Wu Yan. A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's original blood? A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's infant blood? A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's awakening blood? Weren't these the items that Wu Yan had left behind? Moreover, weren't the 3 dungeon missions in the Star Carving Dragon Knight dungeon world the items required for the first part of the mission of Demigod Path? Could it be? The system had already calculated everything? Beep. A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's original blood has been detected. Beep. A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's infant blood has been detected. Beep. A drop of Avalon Holy Dragon Emperor's awakening blood has been detected. Beep. The first part of Demigod Path mission has been completed. Completed just like that? I can ascend to demigod? Even Wu Yan could not react at this time. Wasn't it difficult to ascend to demigod? Did I just get the chance to ascend to demigod like that? Beep. Do you want to create the item to ascend to demigod? However, the system's notification broke the surreal feeling in Wu Yan's heart and told Wu Yan. Everything was reality. Although he had already obtained the qualifications to ascend to demigod, Wu Yan unexpectedly did not feel happy. At first he was still worried about how difficult his demigod path would be. He was even prepared to fight for a long time and become a battle maniac. Then the system gave him a demigod path mission. Just a second ago he had decided to come back and reunite with his friends after completing the first part of the mission. Now he had completed the first part of the demigod path mission. This made Wu Yan feel like he was full of energy and wanted to punch the enemy in front of him, but he ended up punching the air instead. He could not feel happy at all. However, this should be a good thing. Shaking his head with a bitter smile, Wu Yan looked at the system list in front of him and pondered for a while before putting it away. The first part of the demigod path mission had been completed. He only needed to think about it and the item to ascend to demigod would appear in his hands. After using it he would be able to ascend to demigod. However, Wu Yan was not satisfied with this. This was because he wanted to continue with the demigod path mission. Didn't the third point of the mission already say that? Starting from the second part of the mission required him to collect items that could enhance the effect of the item to demigod path. As long as Wu Yan completed more parts of the mission, the effect of the item to demigod path would be stronger. It would also allow him to level up before reaching demigod path. In this case he might as well continue and enhance the effect of the item to the maximum before using it. The fourth point of the mission was that no matter how many parts of the mission the user completed, the item would only be able to enhance the user to level 99. After the item could enhance the user to level 99, the effect of the item would not increase anymore. In other words, Wu Yan wanted to enhance the effect of the item to the maximum. When he used it he would be able to reach level 99 in one go. The pinnacle of demigod path. In this era without celestials he was an invincible existence. Wu Yan had such an ambition. Or rather, after reading the description of the item in the demigod path mission, Wu Yan came up with this idea. After all, he was already at pinnacle tier 9. It would be difficult for him to find a worthy opponent. With his familiars who below demigod path could possibly be his match. Even if he faced a demigod path opponent he still had the red jade mode. He could use Violet's power for a short period of time. With Violet's heaven-defying power, she would definitely be much stronger than he was after reaching demigod path. Since he had no opponents below demigod path and could use Violet's red jade mode to fight against demigod path opponents, He would be a fool not to seize this opportunity. At this thought, Wu Yan's blood boiled and the corners of his lips curled up. Pinnacle demigod path, huh? He could definitely achieve that. Chapter 14:14. Sunlight poured down from the clouds in the sky, causing Lancelot's fur to be dyed with a golden radiance. It was exceptionally resplendent. We've arrived at Ansari. Sylvia, who was sitting on the dragon's back, looked at the corner of the bustling city below and reminded the people behind her. Wu Yan, Yashur and Yak, who were about to doze off, perked up and looked into the distance. Compared to Fantion City, the city was clearly inferior in terms of land area and prosperity. Wu Yan and the others smiled. Yashur and Yak let out sighs of relief. We're finally here. It had been about a week since Yak was forced to awaken and was almost possessed by Mordred, causing a ruckus in Fantion City. Now, the mysterious dragon's attack on the capital of Lorea's knighthood, Fantion City, which caused the Continental Conference to be suspended, had caused an uproar in the knighthood of Lorea's knighthood. It was still a hot topic that attracted everyone's attention. Even after a week or so, the impact of such a major incident didn't calm down. It was treated as an after-dinner conversation from time to time. No one would forget about it without a long period of time. During this time, Yashur and Yak, who were at the center of the incident, didn't have an easy time. Although the Cyphros Empire's actions against Yashur and Yak had been exposed, and Yak had successfully returned to her original state and the matter had been resolved, Yak's existence had been exposed. That was a fact. The princess of the dragon clan. An existence like that couldn't be casually ignored. Thus, it didn't take long for the various factions in Aluxtron to request the Knight's Kingdom to disclose all information about Yak, the dragon princess. Yashur also received attention. Under such circumstances, Yaksu and Yak were personally summoned by Veronica for an entire week. They were questioned and investigated day after day, causing the two of them to be deprived of their freedom to go out as they wished. Their lives were extremely oppressive. Fortunately, Wu Yan and Sylvia stayed behind and spent a week with them in Fantion City. Otherwise, the two of them would have long fallen ill from boredom. And today, Yashur and Yak's investigation finally came to an end and they announced that they had regained their freedom. Thus, early in the morning, Yaksu and Yak couldn't wait to wake up Wu Yan and Sylvia. They rode Lancelot back to Ansari together. Under Lancelot's lead, the entire Ansari Dragon Riding Academy was exposed to everyone's eyes. After a week, the reconstruction of the academy had reached its final stage. Looking down from the sky above the academy, there were brand new buildings erected inside the wall-like academy. Under the sunlight, they shone with a bright luster as if they had just been fished out of the water. It brought with it specks of light. The academy, which had been half destroyed, was finally restored to its original state. Lancelot. Under Sylvia's instructions, Lancelot tilted his body and landed on the academy's field dedicated to dragon riding. Although the reconstruction of the academy was in its final stage, the students of the Ansari Dragon Riding Academy had yet to resume their classes. Thus, there were many students loitering around the field. Lancelot dove down and landed on the field. The sharp-eyed students immediately noticed Lancelot's presence. Hey, isn't that Her Highness Sylvia's Lancelot? That's right. It's Lancelot. Does that mean Lord Roland and Her Highness Sylvia are back? It's true. I saw Lord Roland and Her Highness Sylvia. Lord Roland and Her Highness Sylvia are back. Not long after, the commotion began to resound throughout the field and spread further and further, attracting even more people. Lancelot slowly landed on the field amidst the cheers and support of the students. At the same time, on the other side of the academy, two joyful dragon roars reverberated in the air, reaching the ears of everyone present. Accompanied by the dragon's roar, two black figures, one red and one white, shot through the air at an extremely fast speed and landed on the field without any explanation. Thump, thump. Two heavy thuds were heard as they landed on the ground. The entire field shook slightly and kicked up a large cloud of dust. Only then did everyone clearly see the newcomers. Gyvlin, Gawain, Lebecca and Luca, who were riding Gyvlin and Gawain respectively. President. Sylvia and Yashur hurriedly dismounted from Lancelot's back. Wu Yan smiled and jumped down from the dragon's back. Just as he was about to greet Lebecca and Luca, two longing roars came from Gyvlin and Gawain, interrupting Wu Yan. Before Wu Yan could react, Yuvlin and Gawain abandoned their masters and came to Wu Yan's side, rubbing their heads against him. What's wrong with you two? Wu Yan didn't know whether to laugh or cry when he saw the two holy dragons acting like they were wronged. He rubbed their heads. You must have made Gufflin and Gawain very anxious when you left. Leibecca walked up and said with a smile. Their appetites have been fed by you. The food the dragons made couldn't satisfy them. Yuvlin and Gawain have been waiting for you for as long as you were gone. Now that you're back, of course they're overjoyed. Seriously. Wu Yan rolled his eyes. He knocked Gufflin and Gawain on the head with his knuckles. I just came back and you're already ordering me around? Can't you at least let me rest for a while? Hearing this, even holy dragons like Yuvlin and Gawain lowered their heads in embarrassment, causing the crowd to burst into laughter. Lord Lune. Luca squeezed her small body between Yuvlin and Gawain and came to Wu Yan's side. Welcome back, Lord Lune. Luca's crystal-like eyes stared straight at Wu Yan. There was also a hint of longing in her eyes. She went up to Wu Yan and handed him a teacup. This is a spirit herb tea I personally brewed. It can dispel fatigue. This. Wu Yan looked at the steaming hot and fragrant tea in the teacup. Luca, don't tell me you've been preparing this all this time? Luca nodded shyly. Because I was afraid Lord Lune would be too tired from the long journey. In other words, after Wu Yan left, Luca would brew a cup of tea almost every day for Wu Yan to dispel fatigue when he returned. However, tea wasn't wine. The longer it was kept, the better it was. Luca must have worked hard to prepare the ingredients for the tea every day and waited for Wu Yan to return. She would immediately brew a cup of hot tea for Wu Yan when he returned. All for the sake of dispelling fatigue for Wu Yan as soon as he returned. She was truly a little demoness that made people love and feel sorry for her. Thank you, Luca. Wu Yan patted Luca's head and took the teacup. Then I'll accept your kindness. Wu Yan drank the tea in one gulp. Ugh. Wu Yan's stomach started to heat up as soon as the tea entered his stomach. His body started to warm up as well. His sleepy head seemed to have been stimulated. He became awake and his strength started to recover. Just as Luca said, this tea can dispel fatigue. As always, the effect is amazing. Wu Yan couldn't help but praise. This tea must be expensive, right? It can only dispel fatigue. The effect is good, but it's not as expensive as Lord Lune thought. Luca smiled calmly. In the Kingdom of Knights, you can buy it for around 100,000 ekels. 100,000 ekels. Yashu, who came from a poor family, was shocked. That's not expensive? Wu Yan laughed dryly. If it can dispel fatigue in an instant, 100,000 ekels is worth it. The Princess of the Kingdom of Knights said as if it was a matter of fact. No matter what, I'm relieved to see all of you so energetic. Leibecca walked over and looked at everyone with a smile. Let's go to the dining hall. We'll talk while we eat.